Hello and welcome to the Off-Grid Dev Stream. Thanks very much for joining us. My name is Rich Metzen. I am one of the developers at Semeopus. We're a small indie studio that make the hacking game Off-Grid. This one here. It's a game where data is your most powerful weapon. Essentially, we're going to be talking about other people's hacking games. We do a little series called Video Games is Serious Business, and during that we get our friends to come along and play hacking games with us, friends who are hackers or security researchers in their own rights. And today with me I have my friend McFly. McFly, can you say hello?
Hello, and greetings from Rotterdam.
Cool. Just switch you in there. There we go. So McFly is a friend of mine who basically is the cult personality behind something we call Millerways. Millerways is a hacker village that tours around different hacker conferences. You sometimes call it a mobile hacker space, right?
Yeah. Somebody else has quoted this way, and I sometimes like to quote that.
So Millerways,
it kind of is.
It's kind of raison d'etre is feeding and watering hungry hackers at different cons, right?
Mostly at camps. On conferences, we're usually bound to the point that they don't allow us to do that in the building. So officially, we totally don't do that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So just the camps.
But on camps we make food. Like we just had the CCC camp, where you also made the map for.
Yep.
And we fed, I would say, on a daily basis, 500 people there. So we baked 120 breads of sourdough bread. We made proper food for 500 people. Breakfast. Yep. Sometimes dinner, sometimes lunch or dinner. And that was like an Austrian Kalbsbraten or awesome burgers that we had.
And people who are attending
on
these
a campsite,
different hacker camps are going because there are talks on different vulnerabilities or exploits or techniques, and there are lockpicking workshops, and you can basically learn about everything and anything in hacker culture at these camps, right? That's how you could generally summarize it. Am I right?
I think they're mostly for meeting people. All of that, what you described, happens.
Yep.
And I'd like to go to all of that. But in fact, when you look back on the camp, you will possibly see that the thing you did most was actually just talking to people.
Yep.
Thinking about ideas, what you could do, and ideas that you possibly shouldn't do, and well, those things.
Yeah. Do you mind giving us a little bit of background on your kind of your background in computers and security and hacker culture? How you got into it?
I usually say I'm old, and I still had a modem. I had a BBS. The CCC BBS was the by far most awesome BBS on my list, and so I got an early contact to the CCC. Then started studying, and at some point somebody was like, "Let's go to this Congress to Hamburg." So we drove to the 14C3, which was basically a extremely dense Congress from the impressions, but also from the amount of people in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it moved to Berlin after that, got bigger. But yeah, the next Congress will be the 36C3.
Yep.
So that makes quite a time. Yeah, I involved myself in between in different things at the CCC.
And for anyone who doesn't know what CCC is, that's Chaos Communication Congress, right? Or Chaos Computer Club, depending on...
All of that. Yes, Chaos Communication Congress, Chaos Computer Club, Chaos Communication Camp.
And that's kind of the biggest hacker kind of group or community, would you say, in Europe? and
Yes.
maybe in the world?
As a formalized hacker group, or as a hacker group that actually has some history, it's clearly the biggest. But that's hard to compare if you look for the other big hacker groups, for example, or other well-known hacker groups in the US. They usually have something like 12, 15, 20 members. Mm-hmm. Because they don't want necessarily to include other people, and it's rather hard to also get them there.
Yeah.
Whereas for the CCC, we don't have kind of a members test when you want to join. You basically show up and
then you
start doing things. And yeah, the club is more a legal, formal shell for the real CCC activities. Some people say the CCC started a club, like as in the legal person, a club in the 80s to prevent to become an illegal organization.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And
so it couldn't be.
Yeah, there was.
If it's a club, it can't be designated a cyber terrorist group.
It's after today's thinking, that sounds absurd.
Oh man!
After today's thinking, that sounds absurd, but in the 1980s, that actually did work.
I'm glad. And now we have rocket ships and everything. Rocket ships, 3D printers, and lasers.
Yep. Still no flying cars though.
No.
Or no practical ones.
Cool. I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to crack on at some point soon with the Let's Play that we're doing. We're kind of third part into exploring Nite Team 4, which is by Alison Smith. It's quite a cool hacker game that came out beginning of this year, and it actually features real CVEs and some real tools, certainly mention of some real tools and similar principles. So like you and I in the past, we've talked about Hydra being an interesting tool to mimic in video games. They've got Hydra in this game in some shape or form, which for anyone watching at home who isn't quite so au fait with InfoSec and the kind of tools and terminology, Hydra is kind of a multi-protocol cracker, really. It can crack over SSH and Telnet and pretty much all of the most well-known protocols. Is that the right way to summarize?
Yeah, it kind of tries to use different systems where you can have logins, where Hydra can try to try out a lot of passwords with good password lists.
Yep.
That goes over websites, SSH, Telnet, FTP, you name it, Internet Protocol.
Yep.
There's more modern ones in there. Microsoft had this remote desktop and other things where you can also still use that. But it's originally a very old tool because the idea behind that is pretty simple. You have a login somewhere. I just want to have a tool that tries to log in there with all of the usernames that I give it to him and all of the passwords that I give it to him.
Yep.
So usually I have then password lists that you add to that that help you do that. So you start it on a computer and come back a while later and he's tried out all the 10,000 passwords. So a lot of the real world hacking that you see and that you hear about in the news is actually, and you could possibly say sadly, just password guessing.
Yeah. Yep. Just password guessing at scale, even.
Yeah, you can do things with that, like have proxies where it connects over, so you're coming from different points. But yeah.
Well, I think you'll enjoy.
At that time, it wasn't really.
It does look at these kinds of tools in an interesting kind of detailed way. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Hydra is a very old tool history-wise, and especially at that time, that was insanely awesome. I don't even know. I think it must be at least 15 years, if not older.
Really? Yeah. That doesn't surprise me, actually. I think, when I was kind of doing my homework on it, seem to remember thinking it was built in '98 or something like that, or at least kind of was being more publicly collaborated on in kind of '97.
In 1908, yeah, that possibly is something true. Like, try to find something here about that. That's from the hackers group, the Hackers Choice.
Yep, THC.
THC, and it's yep, pretty old.
Cool. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, just so that people get a bit of a feel for what you and I are both about before we jump into Nite Team and looking at some of these tools that they mimic in that game. And
Bonjour.
we have a Pathfinder. Welcome. How are
How's
you?
it going?
Good to have you.
Yeah, just about made it, I think.
Yeah, you did. If you just give me a second, I can then make your little icon pop up. This is Pathfinder, everyone. So I've done a little intro, and we've asked McFly to intro himself to the new people watching, because actually Anna Shell from Nite Team 4 is kindly hosting us on their Steam broadcast page, on their actual store homepage, which has, you know, quite the tens of thousands of users. So we've probably got a few new people watching us, which is nice. So Path is a good friend of mine. He's a security researcher, and he basically helps us out on the stream pretty regularly. But would you mind giving us a little kind of peek into your, I don't want to say background, but how you got into hacking, or hacker culture, or anything along those lines? Or are you going to just retain your mystery entirely?
All I'll say is, if you realise that you need a proper income at some point in life, and extracurricular internet activities don't pay very well, a lot of security companies will do very minimal background checks, and then just give you unfettered access to thousands of different customers without really knowing who you are. So I highly recommend,
if you like data,
finding like a, if you like data, find not like a major big company, sort of like they're past the startup stage, they've got maybe hundreds to maybe thousands of customers. I'm not going to look at who you are, just jump in. It's great. And that's it.
Cool. Yep, I think that probably says enough about you, Path. I mean, that, like, the type of advice that you'd give is what I mean there. Cool. Well, what we were going to do next was we were going to show those people who are joining us afresh and don't know very much about Off-Grid a bit of Off-Grid. So, if you give me just a second, I will launch that very game. Fingers crossed it all works okay. Display window 1600. Let's see. Oh, that looks like that's working. Oh, there's a bit of a weird... Yeah, that looks like it's working. Cool. So... Path and McFly, you're going to obviously only be able to see this with slight delay, because you guys have your audio here with me, but you are also kind of watching this minorly kind of delayed stream. But I will just pop up a quick intro to what Off-Grid is. It's a stealth hacking game. So unlike Nite Team 4, which essentially takes place on a virtual desktop where you are running terminals and modules and various programs and tools, Off-Grid is more based on the idea of being a bit of a technophobe, really, who falls into the world of hacking through his daughter, who's a hacktivist. So we'll try loading this up. So yeah, the kind of basic premise is you have a set of kind of, what would I say, AR, kind of Google Glass glasses in Off-Grid, and the game you kind of play through the lens of sort of packet sniffing, but in 3D. So here we are, able to kind of visualize different networks and the data around us. And McFly, last week, while you were at CCC Camp, we made a mod of Camp for Off-Grid, right?
Yep. Looked pretty amazing. I basically worked this way that I walked around and took pictures and sent you and your team maps and things and all of that, so you could be able to build a map out of that. That was actually pretty cool.
So basically what we did was we took all of that reference material that McFly's just described, and we built a kind of low poly version of the Hacker Camp. And yeah, we made a version that was in its own Off-Grid style, pretty true to the real experience. So what we'll do is we'll probably just jump straight into showing you a bit of that, so you get a bit more of a sense of what something like Milliways is like. Even if we can't show you it in real life, we'll show you it in low poly. I'll just quickly show you a bit of the hacking in Off-Grid. Off-Grid's toolset kind of revolves around the idea that you're, like I said, sort of using a 3D visualization of Wireshark, where various data trails are left behind, and you can scan for and copy and delete data around the environments. And then we have a kind of Hydra-like SSH tool that allows you to basically find any poorly secured or weak credentialed IoT devices and log into them. And Pathfinder, this is something you've got a specific interest in, right? The kind of MQTT protocol that a lot of these devices use as a hub for speaking to each other with.
Yes, indeed. They are out there. More people are pushing for this specific protocol you called correctly MQTT. If you have an IoT device, a kettle or a fridge that talks to your car in some magic way, there's a good chance that some form of this protocol is there. And if your car can see your kettle, I can usually see your kettle as well. So it's nice to sort of collect these things around the place.
Yep.
So
it's nice for you that they've been as polite to do that for you.
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of it worked. They've integrated for people on the internet randomly looking quite well. And certainly some of the things that we see in Off-Grid are not too dissimilar. And people might say, is it really like this? Like, can you really make a vending machine do that stuff? Yes, you can. You can do that. It just takes a little bit more learning. But the realism is there.
So,
it's very often, by the way, also famous examples. Like, if you look, for example, for the beginning of voting computers, one of the earliest hacks of those voting computers by Rob Ronheim was to actually change the voting computer into a chess computer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The kind of
that's
the precursor to running Doom on a printer.
Yep. Playing chess on a voting computer.
Nice. So I think what we'll do, this gives people a bit of an impression of what the kind of main game for Off-Grid looks like. You basically go around and find IoT devices, and they will have data belonging to different characters on them, and you can then basically manipulate those characters by profiling them, collecting data on them based on what their likes and dislikes are, etc., etc. But what I want to kind of switch over to showing you a bit of is, let me switch here. There we go. We've got some of the Unity scene for the modding tools that we use for Off-Grid. Off-Grid is extensively moddable, a little bit like Anna Shell's team have made Nite Team 4 have an extensive editor, and you're able to make different hacking missions for what I think is called the Hive Mind element of the game. We've made Off-Grid similarly very expandable by the player base. So we want people to be able to contribute to the universe that we're building, really. Just realised I don't have a McFly or a Pathfinder icon in this view, so let me just change that. There you go, there's McFly. Better. Yeah, what we basically have done with our modding tools is we give players our level kit, which is an entire Unity project full of different off-grid related tools. Although, oh man, this there is a file that breaks on this that always causes a problem. But this is essentially the Milliways camp that we built in the low poly style. It's obviously very kind of, well, it's very bright in colour at the moment because of how it's lit in the editor. I think I can probably switch it over to correct lighting. It starts to look a bit more real. Yeah, without fiddling around, it looks like there's some problems with the build of this at the minute, so I don't think we're probably going to do a walk around a Milliways mod right now. So we'll save that for the next time we get you on, McFly, if you're happy to do that, and we'll look at Milliways in a mod through that.
Yep.
But I think that then gives people kind of a rough impression of what we're doing here with Off-Grid, and gives us enough to jump off it into why Nite Team 4 is of interest to us, and why we've spent a couple of streams already exploring the universe of Nite Team 4, and why we're interested in doing more of it. So yeah, this is Off-Grid, and my name's Rich Metzen. We've got McFly and Pathfinder with us, and let's jump into some Nite Team 4 quickly. So I'll close Off-Grid off.
Did we get any feedback as to our moral choice at the end of the last one? Has anyone said?
I did mention it to Anishel, the creator, that we were mildly surprised that that we were in the 6th percentile as the people who didn't want to drone everything. Yeah, he laughed. Yes, you are only in the 6th percentile. That was about all we got for feedback. Right, I need to switch over to here.
So one question while you're switching over that I still had.
Yeah.
The amazing thing at the CCC camp is actually mostly the night, where everything is nicely illuminated.
Yep.
The map shows basically the day. How difficult is it then to make a night mode out of that?
It'll be really easy to, and actually I think it'll be much nicer to do this at night. Well, do you know what would be kind of cool is to have 2 levels, one that's day and one that's night?
Yeah, and I think the night one might be one that's very nice to actually show off, kind of.
Yeah.
Because due to all the lights in the trees, because in those CCC camps we usually put professional stage lighting in the trees and illuminate the whole nature around us.
Yep.
In different colors, and I think that would really look really nice on.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably even easier to light it for the nighttime look and get it looking good. So I'm definitely up for that. What we'll have to do is try and think of a couple of different situations as to what we'd like to be having happen in the nighttime one versus the daytime one. I reckon. I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah, I think when the protagonist in his path to learn more about the scene goes to publicly available events to find out more. I think that's a good place where you can come in the day and talk to some people, and has been told later. So for some others, you need to come back at night.
Yeah,
because the night is not only the night is not only for sleeping, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. So basically, the nighttime is part 2, where you get to the real information.
Yeah, like on the day, good to go there to like. Somebody told me to talk to you, McFly. Do you know where I find person XYZ, or how do I get contact, or something like this?
Yep.
And some of the answers would be, well, for that one, you need to come back at night.
Yeah, you need to come for a whiskey.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have some pictures also from some characters, which I haven't shown you in case you have a lack of characters at some point. But yeah.
Yep. Right, I think we're there. We've got a Lowry turned up in my little icons, but sadly we don't have a Lowry on the call yet. If anyone wants to jump in IRC and try and prod him to come along for the ride, that might be a nice thing to do. Right.
Yeah, I'm talking to him now.
Cool. Yeah, it's always nice to have a Lowry. Right, our agent name is Richard Gill, if I remember rightly, from the game we were playing before here. McFly, you have to give us your favourite Richard Gill line.
Headset. I think my headset just is detached.
Oh, okay.
So I will be back in a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Yes, now I'm back.
You got us? Cool.
Yeah.
Right, so I think we have the game up and running. So this is Nite Team 4. For those of you who haven't seen us playing this in the Video Games is Serious Business stream before, we're not very far in. We've done the first couple of missions. You know, you can see that we're still a cadet up in the top left-hand corner. So McFly, to give you a bit of kind of quick orientation, the sort of tools that we have are kind of come under categories like information gathering, and that's DNS and vhost mapping, host fingerprints. You've got exploit DB that you can then reference for different CVEs that various servers and devices that you're looking at.
What scanner is that?
What scanner?
Yeah, it's hard to see the resolution.
It says WMI scanner.
Okay.
We haven't used that yet. We've got Lycrad in the chat. I don't know whether they've just... they just said hi. Hey, Leikrad. That's Lycrad? Lycrad. Pleased to have you on the stream. The last mission that we did was the drone one, right? Some guy found our tools, and they were going to sell them to the German intelligence agency. The BND.
Yeah, that's about right. BND was in it, McFly.
I'm sorry, I don't work for them. Actually, I never would.
Hey, Zekmo.
So
good to have you.
One had to make the decision as to whether or not to drone strike the target, including the BND,
and the security services who were turning up,
and the security services, some form of police, and or just leave everyone alone. And apparently, 94% of other people were happy to kill at least one or more people.
Yeah, innocent people. I would like to point out that we were in the 6th percentile who were very much passive about it, and we decided to fly our drone away.
We were able to jump into the person's home automation system. We could manipulate their outside heater.
Their barbecue. They had an IoT barbecue.
That's right. And then once the heat signature was up, we would be able to track it via the drone and find it via thermal imaging.
Yep.
And then we had a countdown timer, and we lost, was it minus 10,000 reputation points to the CIA because we didn't.
Yeah, the CIA wanted us to take out the BND apparently. I think on balance we did okay because we'd already built up good rep with them anyway. So it was the only way that we were going to stay positive overall with everyone. But yeah, we're probably not, for being, I think we're meant to be a US agency. For being a US agency, we're not very popular in the US. So looking at this, it looks like Operation Dark Sentinel is where we've gotten to. So let's have a look at this. Select mission. X keys
another member.
Do we have a Lowry?
We debriefed the German authorities on the extent of the situation.
That looks like a lorry.
They have agreed to cooperate with us, at least for now.
Do you hear us, Lowry?
From the raid on Dr. Ripper's house. I've uploaded the following to your station. The satellite view.
Can anyone else hear Lowry?
Police report from the raid and evidence found at the
I've heard touches of him, but I don't think it's coming through very well.
All right. Well, I will throw. I'm throwing his little avatar up for the assumption that we'll get him in at some point in terms of audio. Parth, do you mind helping him wrangle getting his connection working?
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Cool. So I haven't paid any attention to this briefing document. That's the one thing that's difficult about the streaming of this game, is that there's these really luscious, nice, fully voiced briefs, but I find like when you're streaming, you just want to scan through everything. So what we'll do is we will close that briefing document. We'll just look at the primary objectives in the left here. So we need to investigate the German intelligence documents provided in our localhost and find more information on the house. Oh, so this must still be building on the last mission.
Yeah, no, you can hear me. I just can't hear anything.
Yeah. There we go.
But only on Hangouts. Like YouTube's playing fine.
I can hear you now, Lowry.
Yep, I can hear you too.
So.
But I think he can't hear us.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He can only hear us on the stream rather than through Hangouts. So he's going to try again.
That's going to be a difficult discussion with some lag of like 12 seconds in between.
Yeah. So, connect to your local host using your file browser module. Locate the German intel report. I think I might just go into the options here and turn the audio down if I can. No, this is not where you turn the audio down. Where are the settings? Let me make sure I keep an eye on the Steam broadcast page as well. Oh, there we go. We've got a whole bunch of people. So, for those of you that are watching and chatting away in the Steam broadcast channel, apologies that I didn't notice it. I didn't have the thing up. We've got Mr. Goodbar, Anna Shell, and Dave. There's an entire chat going on there that I haven't kept my eye on. Maybe if I just ping that to you quickly here, McFly, you and Parth maybe might be able to quickly scan the chat there and see if any questions have come up that we might be able to answer. So, Mr. Goodbar says, interesting concept that, off-grid, like you had the power of Neo from the Matrix in a Watch Dogs type universe. but you're in the movie Memento. Yeah, that's a good way of kind of doing a mishmash there. That's a good explanation of it. So, Steam Broadcast has some real funny stuff. So, here we go. May I suggest you turn on subtitles in the game for viewers because the game audio is kind of low. Ah, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Might need Anishel to tell me where I find the subtitles in the menu here. There's a menu here, Stinger OS. Audio, I'll turn... Well, I was going to turn the music volume down here. Oh, I realised I've got off-grids music on in the background. That might be part of the issue here. Turn that off quickly. That's probably better. General, will that have... Well, if someone could... Oh, here we go. Lower left corner. Yep, Palatura's told me lower left corner. Graphics. That's the font size. Might turn the terminal font size up actually, just because we're on a stream. Audio section has subtitles. Oh yes, it does. Perfect. Great. Cool. Thanks very much. So,
I'm back and I can hear you.
We have a Lowry Love. Perfect. Good to have you. How are you?
I'm alright, yeah. Weirdly, Firefox works and Chrome doesn't. Chrome's normally the thing that works with all the multimedia things because I don't disable everything, whereas Firefox, I disable everything. But Chrome not happy, Firefox happy, so there you go. There you
go. Good. Nice. Well, so, Lowry, I've done a little kind of brief chat intro with McFly and Pathfinder each as they turned up. So, for the benefit of our viewers who are watching for the first time, some of them are just learning about Off-Grid, and some of them might not know anything about your background. So Lowry is a friend of mine and a hacker who is fairly well known for having had to go through the ordeal of an extradition case in the last, 6 years? 7 years?
Since 2013, so yeah, it's going to be 6 years in October since I was drastically inconvenienced by the National Clown Agency, or National Crime Agency as they prefer to be called.
Yep.
And then 4 years since America tried to kidnap me and lock me up for 99 years.
Yep.
And thankfully they weren't successful in the end, because we defeated them with a fantastic campaign and a little bit of help from Judgy McJudge Face, the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales, the Honourable Lord something of Malden. Oh fuck, I shouldn't forget his name, really, it's a bit rude. Anyway, he's got a long title.
He
and
saved you should know his name.
He did save me, yeah. And Justice Ousley Burnett, he was also pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so America did not get their pound of flesh, or however many pounds of flesh I weigh these days. It's growing on a daily basis, and that means I get to chat to you guys and be a slightly more positive character in a video game rather than a cautionary tale.
There you go. Good stuff. So today we're going to look at Nite Team 4, which is quite an interesting hacking game by another dev that I know called Anishel and his team over at Allison Smith. And Pathfinder and I have been playing this game a little bit already. We've played it a couple of times on stream. It's kind of interesting. It has some real tools in it, and it has things like the exploit database where you have to look for various unpatched softwares and see what CVEs are available in order to discern what your attack vector is and what tooling you can put together. So I think all of you are going to enjoy this. Pathfinder already knows a bit about it, but McFly is also new to this game. So we're going to jump straight into it, but please feel free, basically, Lowry, to jump in, say, wow, that's interesting because of this, or that reminds me of this old story from back in the day when I wasn't allegedly doing anything naughty at any given point.
From the other life that didn't happen. Yeah, I'm just trying to bring up the old Twitch stream there, so I'm not
So you
saying
can
that's
see it.
interesting to things entirely in my imagination, which is what I'm usually doing.
I'll try and
So
describe it really well.
yeah,
and
if you could put on the audio narration that they have for less sighted people, and yeah, that'd be quite good.
So, yeah, we were going to start this mission. Let's throw that up and get back in.
The amount of JavaScript you've got to enable to watch something on Twitch, there's like more code running on this browser page than the entire Apollo space program.
Yeah, it is pretty terrible.
Totally.
You have to scroll through no scripts to pick out the things, right?
Yeah,
And
I even use
Yeah.
a more efficient thing called uBlock Matrix, where it's all in this, like, all the little boxes are very close to each other, but it's still a good 10 seconds of clicking, you know.
Well,
Here we
while
go.
you
I
get
see
that
things,
up,
I see things.
can you see some stuff? Good.
Yeah, I can see things. There's a little tiny U floating
Yeah.
in the bottom corner.
Yep.
There's cartoony avatars of the rest of us.
Yep. Absolutely. So, in the last episode and in the previous mission, basically we had to we had to track down a USB key or some kind of data transport that was going on that had a load of NSA tools that had been leaked on it. And it turned
Nice.
out a dude was trying to sell them to the BND, and the CIA told us to drone him and the BND if they turned up. And we refused.
Oh, good, well done.
So
This is vaguely based on a bit of a true story. You know, the German hackers from the 80s that got kind of caught up in a bit of a spy
in
scandal.
the Soviet, the two guys from the CCC, the guy who invented the first Trojan, is that right?
Yeah, that went and ended up going a bit south, as I recollect.
Well, there's a complete movie about it. It's called See It Shined.
Yes,
You
that's what I've
should find it on YouTube.
What's it called, McFly?
23, so 23.
23.
Nichts ist wie es scheint.
I think-
Nothing is as it looks.
I think
It's on
I
YouTube.
watched that with
It's-
you, Lowry, if I remember rightly. I think we all watched it together sometime at something we were
Yeah.
at.
It's weird stories about that. So within this whole thing of doing the hacks at that time, for example, one of the things that's not covered in the movie, but what they did is there was a new type of phone boxes. But they stole a phone box for a night. So in the evening when it got dark, they showed up at the phone box with a transporter, basically disconnected the whole phone box, loaded it on the truck, drove it home, analyzed it, and the next morning put it up again before anybody noticed.
I think that's allowed. That's legitimate reverse engineering. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're happy if you kind of denial the service for 8 hours, but on the other hand, with a phone box, who would care today?
That's true.
Right, so
Like on the point of our phone box got hacked, I'm pretty sure the other guy will answer, we still have phone boxes?
Most of them around here are little village libraries. They're quite cute.
No. But back to the game.
yeah, I'm just trying to discern what we're up to. I think literally we just have to go and look in our local host in the file browser tool to start with. We're doing a bit of just digging about in some files they've already given us. So I've got to try and remember where it is. The file browser tool. Where is that?
Let's see.
There we go. Data forensic file browser. Local
There's a
host.
good hack for that. If you can't find the thing in the game, you just let your cat type on the keyboard for a little bit until it comes up. You know, it's a good way of fuzzing. That's actually where the term fuzzing came from, because cats are fuzzy and they're really good at random typing.
Right.
It's true. I didn't make that up.
Good. Well, now we know. I just need to get a cat next time.
Yeah, it wouldn't work with a pig. I don't think it'd be good for your keyboard.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, those Cherry MXs would not be very happy with with bacon sat on one.
Mm.
Right.
Can also confirm
Oh, what are you saying,
squirrel-based can also confirm that squirrel-based entropy on keyboards is also very valuable for any form of entropy generation.
Yeah, it takes a little while to tame the squirrels, but if you have a couple of hackers together, you can get it done in a few months. We have evidence of this.
I think a squirrel would be an awesome hacker deflection tool if you can implement that somehow. So somebody attacks the system, just blame a squirrel or something to.
It's like on The Simpsons. No one ever suspects the butterfly.
So I've got to locate the German Intel report. I'm in Documents, Intel, Germany, BND folder. There are no files that I can click on though. So that's a bit awkward. Locate the German Intel report. Well, this is exactly where all those people who already play Nite Team 4 are allowed to do spoilers, because I make these kind of stupid mistakes and I'm probably looking directly at something.
So the classic model is look at all the things all of the time, and you will find that's how the internet works.
Well, the thing is, there's one for every bloody country here. I don't want to go through all of them.
Are we definitely looking for specific? I mean, if we are what, CIA or whatever we are, our folder might have.
Yeah, okay. So I need to
for us, right?
Yeah, maybe I should go to the US folder and look for something on Germany. That's a good point, rather than looking in the German folder.
I noticed one mistake that the BND seem to have done here is that a lot of their files are 777 permission. You know, anyone can read, write, and execute. As an intelligence agency, if I was if I was consulting for them, I'd suggest that would be a thing to change, and I sort of maybe already have in an indirect way.
Well, there's this little flashing red thing at the minute. Oh, here we go. Palatura says, fun fact, you can type 127.0.0.1 instead of localhost to connect. Yep, there you go. You can use the actual home IP. But that's not going to help you find the German folder, I don't think.
And to do some network explaining there, you can even try a 127.1.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I think anything under the 127 should bring up your local host. I imagine they won't have implemented anything other than 001.
Yeah, but 127.1 is actually a valid description of an IP address, not an IP address itself.
Oh yeah, what's the decimal of 127.0.0? There's loads of funky representations of IP addresses. Always good for experimentation.
Otherwise known as WAF bypass.
Yeah. That isn't a funny way of saying
sense.
wife bypass. So a wife bypass is a lot harder generally.
Can't just change the number. They
It does not work. That will not help you in the divorce court. Just with a computer, you just.
Oh, if only.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The first crime from space is now hacking.
Oh yeah,
You would also have expected.
into a bank account. It's quite good because you've got to think, what was the thought process? It's like, wow, how are they going to guess which one of us it is in space? There's literally 4 of us.
So
I think it was aliens trolling.
Oh yeah, well I mean that's true also. I mean it's the first human crime from space, not the first crime from space.
Yep.
That's a big assumption to make. Very anthropomorphic view of the universe.
It is, yeah. We didn't invent crime. we had Johnny come latelys to the crime world of the cosmos.
You could say it's the first crime we know of.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but we don't know what NASA's hiding unless some of us do.
Well, we also don't know what old Buzz and what was it? Who was the first man? Neil.
Neely.
Yeah. One of them littered.
Exactly.
And they buried the footage.
Are you
would
talking
be
about the flag, or are you talking about an actual bit of like, rapid
The
mapping?
flag
Well-
was litter, essentially. I mean,
the flag is what we know of.
I think under my philosophy that constitutes littering, but but I guess the US government takes a different view.
I think
So-
we're not getting very far with
we're not,
this
but the whole
game.
point is to have fun. People,
No,
people are
yes.
watching the stream to listen to hackers talk about crime in space, not to watch this video game.
Yeah.
So,
Can
right,
we not just run a tech search on all of these documents and do a little bit of corpus generation and what
Yeah,
else
the
do we
problem with that
normally
is they offer, as you would imagine, they are not offering a full Unix environment.
do? Oh, no.
Because
No, they're not.
Yeah.
the other one that we played had a find command, which was fairly similar to
Right.
find, but there was a limitation.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone will ever make a video game that's a sort of like maybe a pared back Linux with a nice friendly GUI, but still stuff going on.
Well, I mean,
if
they
you
sort
ever-
of have in a couple of ways, but it's just very pared back.
Yeah.
If you've ever installed Gentoo and you don't see that as
As
some
a
form of
game
gamification,
Wait, why don't you actually get little trophies for like getting your Gen 2 patched? I mean, it's-
Gentoo is Linux with permadeath. That's what Gentoo is.
yeah.
Right, so I've
No,
got this
I see
report.
some
I've got the German
report,
report. We've got to infiltrate the network of any third party involved with Dr. Ripper's house and location. So there's a guy called Dr. Ripper, apparently. West Berlin UAV attack report. There shouldn't be a UAV attack report. We didn't attack anyone.
No,
Specifically-
it's still an active engagement. Or we were on the verge of active engagement, right?
Right.
Maybe they just made the assumption that the people playing this game would kill the person, so they didn't bother to put in the.
Logic. The whole point of video games
Someone's
is you
gonna
can
take
kill
the
people.
pacifist route. Let's not write the dialogue for that. So it says, ground unit 193 responding to a special alert, entered a private residence. Berlin was the site of a possible redacted. Ground unit. Did we use the ground? I'm not sure. I can't remember what happened here with this. I think what we'll do is we'll just assume that we did everything that it's telling us that we did.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, that is not a good legal strategy. I mean, I
I
know people that have used that one. It didn't work.
Well, in a game, we're just
In a
gonna
game,
we're gonna have to run along with it.
You've got to go with the flow in a game. There's a lot of deference to the narrator.
So it says infiltrate the network of this person. Oh no, we're on added new folder to localhost. I've already done that, Agent Dylan. Don't worry about that. Add to case file. That must be helpful in some way, shape, or form. Team resources. No, let's get back from that. I assume. Oh, Palator is saying that briefings and stuff. Yeah, we were joking. They do definitely change based on the player's actions. We're just making a joke of the fact that it seems that only 6% of people are pacifists out of the Nite Team 4 players.
Yeah.
So
Was that just a little quiet word from the sponsors there? You got to...
I think from someone who's played a bit more of this than we have.
Oh, okay, yeah. You don't want to be wrong on the internet. That's not good.
Never been wrong on the internet, me.
No, I mean, I just know from other people's experience, obviously.
So
Which is the several dozen I tell a day.
Guess keystroke. What is it? Key score. X key score.
X key score.
That's what we need to be using here, I guess. We need to find.
What is X key score? It's a database. It's a system of databases.
So.
It's just a lot of Apache Hadoop.
Dan Friedel, is that the name of the guy? Let's drop that in. Is that going to let me do anything? No.
Is that the name?
You can do a search by names.
Document here.
Don't remember.
Because if we've got if we remember that this is a game rather than the headless mess of having to deal with
internet.
data as you There will be-
should we query the real XQ score just to compare the difference?
Yeah, if
we,
you've got
we, ha-
access.
we have that option. It's funny you should say that.
I guess I need to pull up this this file again. Local host.
Yeah, there'll be something in there that's more than just polite verbiage. There'll be something like
This is a
aside from
waving
there'll be
flag.
some-
Please see me.
I mean, it definitely is Dan Friedel. We've got his property deed, believe it or not, as well. I best look at all of his files rather than the one. Right, we've got his property deed.
Yeah, look at the bits. Yeah, property deed. Did you say?
Real estate deed. Grantor,
Well,
Marcel Mola.
Still,
Oh, so he's related. I mean, property deed. No, Grantor. That's who sold it to you, right? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so he bought a property. We have his new address, which is Innsbrucker Strasse 72, 100825 Berlin. Ever been there, McFly?
No, I'm just checking. 1008. Innsbrucker Straße.
By law, every German has to have a comprehensive record of which suburbs they've been to in chronological order. It's checked once a year by the suburb inspector.
It's a bit like British
It was
waterways. Then,
Innsbrucker
if you live on a
Straße
narrowboat.
2072, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's this? This is the Branitzer Platz satellite view. That's his house right there. Add that to the
Bayerischer
text
Platz.
file. Branitzer Platz says concierge business card. What's this?
A business card? Did you say?
Mm.
Yes.
So Palatura says the Steam broadcast lags for some people in the Alison Smith Discord. Yeah, to be honest, I have trouble with Steam broadcast. As in, you're getting long buffer kind of breaks. Let me know what the issue is, and I'll try and troubleshoot. Might not be able to fix it immediately.
Come on Twitch. Come on Twitch. We get an extra 50p for everyone who switches to Twitch.
It's actually the other way around. Like,
Oh,
the more
sorry.
we
Don't
go-
get off Twitch.
So
No, just need a redirect.
yeah, there you go. Someone else give us that. Right, we've got concierge services from Katja Meller, senior representative. What is a concierge service?
Is it not the person
That's
who?
somebody that's
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sitting in the desk and basically in front of your house and handling your mails, your guests, and stuff like
It's
that.
sort of like a firewall for undesirable people if you're kind of posh enough to be able to have one of those.
Yeah, it's also
It's
very
a
useful
human
if you
firewall.
receive parcels.
Yeah, and parcels. Yeah. They get blown up first, and you don't, and it's yeah,
Pallets
No,
are just gonna
also
move to
like
watching
actually
you on
with
Twitch.
parcel services today that basically just ring once and then run away and drop it in a store like 3 blocks away.
Yeah, no,
with which you
I
actually
had
get your
a
parcels.
I had a parcel for a neighbour, not even a next door neighbour, and over the common behind my house neighbour at 11:30 the other night, and I was like, nobody comes to our house that late, so I started shutting down everything, getting ready to get arrested for some stupid reason, not that there would be any legitimate reason, and yeah, it's just some DHL guy on the end of his shift in the middle of nowhere, cannot be bothered finding another awake neighbour. Not great, really. It's not great.
No. Especially not when you take into account the grounds or the circumstances under which you were arrested. Like, that's surely got to kind of make you slightly phobia-based of anyone saying, I've got a package for your neighbour. All right, fuck off, mate.
Yeah. Well, one day I am going to borrow a one of them. Well, which bloody company even was it? They're the ones that have the cool vans that have the open shotgun doors so they can jump out quickly.
Oh.
UPS, yeah. One day I'm going to borrow a UPS van and get my computers back.
We're just gonna drive the van to the NSA.
Oh,
to the
yeah,
NCA
at some, yeah. I mean,
I've
it's
got a package
like
for the NCA. It says
Right,
Larry loves computers. Need to go in this box.
Well, what do you think about it? Like, Serco move actual prisoners about, so I'm sure the NCA would probably outsource to some,
exactly.
courier company to move things from one lockup to another. You think about these lockups is they develop, building problems just like any other place, and I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Right, I think we've looked at all these reports. I think we're ready to probably try and pipe some of this information into X-Keyscore.
Yes.
We are going to get fired from the Watch NSA division or CIA division, I think, because basically we spend all our time chatting instead of working. Like,
you're supposed to be looking up ex-girlfriends and compromising the privacy of people not suspected of any crimes and generally eroding faith in government. And we're not doing any of that, so how are we earning our money?
True. Infiltrate the network of any third party involved. Okay, so X-Keyscore maybe isn't going to be useful to me here. Although I don't... Yeah, no, maybe not. So infiltrate the network. I mean, maybe we want to go and look at krugerservices.de. Fuzz some of that.
Where did that come from? Have I heard that name yet? Is that
Kruger
Services in a document?
is this concierge business card we have.
Okay.
So if we can get into them, then we can maybe listen in the building, look at the cameras, see the car parking lot logs, or.
So what?
Every ultimatum in this game ends up with "Shall we let them live or die?" by drone strike. So we're gonna get into something. We're gonna do a thing, and then right, lads, we're back to drone.
I made a really bad taste joke earlier. I just sometimes sit and I type stupid things to keep myself occupied. So I wrote bought a £20 mouse so I can harness that big click energy. And I was like, okay, how can I riff on this a bit more? Gandalf had a big mage stick energy, and sometimes I pick my nose for that big flick energy. And then the RAF drones deposited 130 kilograms equivalent of TNT into Syria for some big trick energy. You've got to know a little bit of hacker history to understand. There's the poor bastard who got actually blown up by the RAF or the CIA or the US Air Force for being a skid in Syria working for ISIS.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not so much the fact that they were a skid. It was their employers, wasn't it?
Mainly the ISIS thing. Yeah, I know. But I mean, his actual risk was he might deface, your GeoCities website.
Yeah.
This was not a huge threat, and it actually concerned me at the time because I was sort of a bit of a hacker, potentially a bit of an international fugitive. So I did try and call up the Home Office to ascertain under exactly what conditions they would drop a bomb on.
Yeah.
And they did not want to discuss it.
I don't think they're allowed to do it if you're here. I think the problem would be if you went into somewhere that's sort of half classified as a war zone.
No, I mean the legal problem was that they destatized it, made him stateless, so they could do it. So they removed his citizenship without due process, which is a little bit not cool.
Yeah, too right.
Yeah, shout out to David Cameron.
Yeah, shut up. You cheeky pig fucker.
It was the first official drone strike against a UK citizen.
Yeah.
But on behalf of the UK deferring to the US drone strike.
Well, it was all the trend back in 2012.
Yeah,
because Obama had done one, and so old Dad Cam wanted to get in there on that.
I mean, it starts with having a little wazzing contest in the toilets, and then you both become leaders of a country. And then what's next to compete? Oh, how many people can we kill outside of due process with remote-controlled robots? And then
we've got a couple of domains that we can prod. I think we want to do the fingerprinting tool on them next. Does that sound right?
Probably. Well, so just for just for completeness, probably we would use one of the two fingerprinting things on the domain. But we could just, I mean, I don't know, I can't remember how they've set this one up, but we could just throw Hydra straight at it if we. No,
because we've got some subdomains. Yeah, that's true.
We've got some subs.
What would the fingerprinting be doing? Is that detecting what services and software are running on the Nmap?
Well, I think it gives us what ports are available and Nmap style.
Mm-hmm.
They've done everything except use the correct IRL name for the tool, but pretty much everything in here is mapping itself to a tool that we would know. One of them immediately looked like the harvester to me. Then they've got something else that looks like Subbrute. But what they've done is they very cheekily just renamed it so that you can't just play this game and then go straight off. Fortunately, what we're doing is we're calling out the actual names of them as we go along, so that people can go off and do that. But of course,
responsible
team for doing it. Yeah, we didn't train the people. We just sort of nudged them.
Well, we're in this Wild West kind of frontier where we can stream video games and sort of editorialize them, but we're not required to put up those disclaimer warnings about what happens if you try this at home. So I strongly suggest you all try this.
Okay. I don't know whether we are supposed to say that or not, but we'll just.
Well, the opposite. I don't know.
Well, hang on. If you have permission from the owner of the system, then everything's fine from home.
Yeah, exactly. If you are going to hack someone, get permission from the owner first.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't break into your own house, and with computers, you should possibly try to do that from time to time. There's even cool images for that. Like if you run anything based on the web, I strongly recommend to, like, for example, start to learn how certain web tools work by banging at a web code.
I think it's kind of in the same way that if you're in a furniture shop, you're going to try and sit on the sofa, and you're going to maybe give the table a bit of a nudge before you put your really expensive crystal wine glasses on it. And if you're running a bit of software that you're going to give all your banking secrets to, why not learn how to find out that doesn't fall over when you prod it? You know, just be self-reliant.
Yep.
I think there's also a comment in the comments that is worth having a look at. Did you know that you can press tab to autocomplete command names in known subdomains and domains?
Okay.
Which is also a bit like in the real world.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone's written. Oh, you get these autocomplete Python things for Nmap and stuff like that. So probably you can do that, but
I can press tab but I have to find the domains first, surely. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to use any of the SFuzz tools.
Yeah, just keep pressing tab and you complete the game.
It turns out that's all scientists do. Like that.
Oh right, it is tab to autocomplete.
You know, the Large Hadron Collider is just an elaborate ruse. Like down there's just a team of scientists pressing tab until cold fusion happens.
So OSINT scan. Kruger services. Let's try that.
Yeah, there's a few of them. If you fingerprint those, you'll get some ports. Some of them might drop out. Did I see 443 or 445 earlier when you were scrolling?
Yeah, all of them are all of them that I've done so far. 443, which was
Path, you've just given me a great idea for a cover of Boxy. You know, Boxy did that video, you trolling, but just do that, but you scrolling. And then it's just lots of funny things coming up on an endless scroll.
OSINT scan, Kruger services.de. Right, tab's complete. That's not fixing anything for me. Google.com 500 deep.
IIS. They're allowed to use IIS, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that always, every time you see IIS in a response back, you kind of go, do these people know what they're doing? Like, what is, why would you do that to yourself?
No, I mean there are like actual serious business programs used by large multinational corporations that still have the WS API in the URL, so you know that that was last coded back when IIS was like 1998 or something.
Yeah, you still find
just...
still find IIS 6 stuff around.
Yeah,
in major stuff are open to the internet. You can still find it. Mental. What a
Yep.
bit.
You
Well,
can
maybe
still find Java 1.5.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Java. I read this on the back of a cereal box. The Department of Defense's their smart card, so that your two-factor authentication if you're logging onto your U.S. Marine Corps pension website. That's all Java. It's all written in Java, and it was written in the 90s. And the guy who wrote it hasn't updated his website in a long time, and it just makes you wonder. They spend more money than most countries of the world have put together, and they just haven't bothered updating.
Even I2P is a new thing recently.
The development speed of basically everything that's web-based is just not a speed that is imaginable for people working in governance and administration. So if you tell them you're about to sell them a piece of software for their web stuff, and they have to basically rewrite it completely again in 8 to 10 years, they will just say that's insane. And the other person at the desk would say, you want to keep this running for 8 to 10 years?
Yeah, but there's also a slightly more cynical. I mean, the bureaucratic stuff is understandable to some extent, but there's a slightly more cynical factor, and that's anything that gets done, fixed, improved, or made for the US military is a huge money spinner for the main contractor, the subcontractors, and then all of the people that have to be employed in the Beltway. So just getting that software updated would have to be rolled into a much bigger, greedy, money-grabbing exercise.
I'm not doing a great job here, guys. I haven't managed to find anything other than mail and blog.Kruger services.
Okay, well, how many results did you jump through?
1,000.
Okay, so have we fingerprinted those individual subdomains?
Yep.
You actually
Nothing.
did, like I watched them.
Yeah,
Okay.
those both up to date, so I can't exploit anything.
Up to date only means that it's the latest version of this game utilizes what the public press would call the 0 day. Then that might actually still work. That's possibly why they give the software and the version numbers.
That's true. So, I mean, I think maybe later in the game we might get some kind of 0 day gameplay, but for now, the only thing that we've done so far is search exploit DB in order to give us.
What other tools have we got? Because if we're not getting any luck with fingerprinting these things, then this is not the right mechanism, is it?
True enough. So infiltrate the network of any third party involved. I guess. Well, there's the man in the middle tool. But we'd need to have a device or a server that we were going to MIT.
What else have we got?
Sorry. What else do we have?
Yeah, tools wise, what else have we got lying around?
We've got Hydra, social engineering toolkit, man in the middle, password attack, phone CID backdoor, so we need a phone number. Oh, we do have a phone number on that business card.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, we do. 030-420-50136.
Okay.
That's Berlin. The Bundesnachrichtendienst until very closely was somewhere near Munich.
Someone has taken their annual phone geolocation test in Germany recently, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is the other thing they test you every year.
Yeah.
Which area code for which part?
Yeah.
So
well, for the big cities, you know that I bet that's very much the same in the UK.
I know. I don't know.
Path or Lowry, someone written down that number so I can jump to this tool.
Oh, we don't have a copy paste capability in our
no, we don't.
Security operating system. Okay.
So I need 030
like that. Yep. 030
4205.
Yeah. 0136. Trick you do with these
Hang
memorizing
on.
things
There's,
is you have some
there's
characters.
more data on.
Oh, okay.
What? The stream keeps freezing for me, but
we've got an address,
like essentially,
and we've got her email address.
Right, we want to take all the information off that card and write it, because there'll be something else we can use. At some point, that'll be what we got. Domain.
We're getting slagged off in the Nite Team Discord for not having done the education modules on how to do any of this stuff. Yeah, we're hackers. We're winging it. Like, we're just poking around at things. No one sits and reads the manual first.
Well, they do it sort of 5 years before they end up coming to doing things. They are supposed to know the deal. What happens? You just wander around and Google as you go.
Right.
So
They actually cut out the scenes in action films where there's intense googling and reading of PDFs, and it kind of slows down.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to take a picture of that.
Yeah, okay.
I think it'd be nice to make a very realistic hacking film with real time, and then you just have to skip through the dull bit.
That would be a very interesting, but also very, for non-hackers, very boring video.
Right.
Yeah,
so
all the
1,001
1,001
because I need the MAC address for that, so that's not going to work.
we've got. Well, there's an email.
Angel, I know you can hear us, Angel ID, but maybe you can help us. Like, give us like some kind of hint as to whether we are looking in the right place. Is Kruger Services the right people to be looking at? Ah, it's Agent Dylan. No, Agent Dylan. I know that you added that folder to our local host. That's not going to help.
Are you being spoken to by the game or by people on the chat?
Both.
Both. Okay, you're getting it from both sides. Automatic artificial intelligence trolling and real human onlooker trolling.
I mean, I don't think there was anything really that much more interesting in here. We got the real estate deed. That gives us an address. It doesn't give us anything else that's interesting.
So wait, you need the phone's MAC address to backdoor it?
Yeah, you do. Which is, a bit annoying because silent SMS probably still works in this universe.
The password attack. Is there anything we can? If it's Hydra, it should have an IMAP.
Let's go mess about with Hydra for a bit, eh?
So yeah, there was a mail subdomain, so you should be able to map a team up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a mail. So, how does this work again? Connect, and then the target domain.
For the curious here, by now the actual intelligence agency would have just used their SS7 access to the underlying network of the global system for mobile telecommunications to reprogram the baseband to take over. There wouldn't be any of this having to try hard. It's probably a button press or two to own your phone.
And on the other side of the fence, we would be sitting going through about the third page of source code of the site that we're trying to look at in the first place.
You're reading so much wonderful JavaScript.
Yeah.
So we had an email address, and it looks like they gave us social engineering toolkit as a tool. That's the last thing. If this doesn't work, that's the other piece of data we have.
There is a social engineer. Yeah, there is. Yeah, we could try set. We've got a phone number, haven't we?
I mean, I don't know how they've set up their X key score thing, but there was an address on that business card, like a physical address.
I don't seem to have. I've literally just got Dan Friedel. I need more data points in order to make X key score work, it would appear.
Right, but we've got the name of the person whose business card it was, so we could see what they.
Yeah, but when I pull up X key score, it has this list of things you can do on the left. I could try it. What was her name? Do you remember her name?
Katja something.
Oh no, I can't spell that. Katja.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, we have to. So if we bring that card up again, all information must be...
MEHLER. But I don't think that's quite how X key score works in this instance, unfortunately. Where's it
So
on the basis of how tropes work, Katya will be some sort of Russian agent, femme fatale, or some, Eastern European femme fatale. That's
true enough.
Good chance of that. So
don't talk to her, basically, because otherwise you're in serious trouble.
Good chance you'll die or get involved in some extra shenanigans. But I think that maybe getting involved in shenanigans.
That's true enough. So Mailer, MAHLER.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's how X key score works. I don't think you can. I think it literally, the search just filters what you've already got, and I'm not filtering through anything anyway. I was leaving it all available. So.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, they've given us a form of set in here, and set takes emails and does fun things with the emails.
Yeah, so let's try that out. So
it is like,
where is that?
I would guess we put it in there somewhere.
Oh, I've lost where.
Should be.
It is.
Some kind of intrusion thing. It was in the scroll where you were again.
Yeah, here we go. Social engineering toolkit. So, so yeah, this again is a real tool that they've popped in, which is widely used by scrubs around the world to fish people. So
that's why all spam mail looks the same.
Yeah. So welcome to set. This module is specially designed to assist you. Select from menu spearfishing attack vector. Spearfishing attack vector.
Spearfish is the one, because we know our target.
I mean, is that a command, spearfishing?
We know.
No, it's just the conceptual name for it.
Yes.
Because you're actually looking at one fish and then you stab the harpoon at it rather than putting a little
I've got
down
sort of a terminal here, is my point. Like, what? Am I just do I just put in the email address, or have they got a command that they're asking me to
type
use?
one maybe for spearfishing?
Yeah,
I'm just going to type -help.
Question mark.
No, help command not found on this tool. Whoops.
I'm several seconds lagged, maybe 30 seconds lagged on the Twitch, so it's difficult to.
Oh yeah, it is well lagged.
No, it won't be command. This just looks like choose option, and the only option there is option one. You type one and then.
True enough. And then we're in. Okay, so select from menu, build email database, create full file format, create a payload, craft email template. So the spearfishing module allows you to craft email messages and send them to large or small number of people with attached file format malicious payloads. Select from the menu 1, build email database. We're only going to put one email in because we've only got one email. Manual entry will do. 3. So what was Catcher's email? I guess it was Catcher.
.mailer.
Yeah.
At that domain.
Which was Kruger.
Kruger services.d, I think.
Yeah.
Alright, that's in. No, we don't want to enter another email.
I'm trying to read this thing. Did it just say create a file format? Does that hopefully mean we can choose it to be a PDF to keep in with sort of the history of breaking everything?
Possibly. That's what we're doing next anyway, too.
Always open PDFs, by the way. If you have an email with a PDF, especially if it says an invoice for something you don't remember ordering, it's probably a nice present surprise. So
yeah, PDF is so unbelievable how many different attack vectors are in PDF.
So
action script.
It's nice. We've got a few people saying hi now. I've got Le Shadow is on the Discord saying hello.
Oh,
nice.
There we go.
Hey.
So yeah, good to see you. I'll tell him to join in.
There is a certain irony to trying to replicate a physical static document and then it ending up having like every bit of active code you could possibly imagine running inside it.
Yeah.
You know, if only we can make paper that smart, we wouldn't have needed computers in the first place.
So,
Although the idea of like opening a physical paper envelope and then the letter killing me with paper cuts should be the rough equivalent of what happens these days with emails.
right, I'll get right. So it's asking us whether we want to do a Word RTF buffer overflow, a Flash player remote code execution, an Adobe PDF embedded XE, or a custom DLL in a zip file.
So we're supposed to infect this network somewhere, right?
Well, this concierge service, yeah.
So that was where we saw IIS. Is that correct? Yeah, I don't know it depends if we're gonna talk to them directly. We would want to throw something in the Flash player rubbish. But if they're going to open a zip,
It just says
are we going to send them something they're going to open? Probably not.
So PDF probably best.
Infiltrate. Yeah, smash in a
PDF.
Flash player
Oh,
RCE.
well, I've just done PDF. I got overexcited. We've got to create the payload now anyway. 3. Reverse shell VPN. Apparently.
Oh no! Wait, no. PDF is right. That's what you want to do. What am I saying? I just. But you get excited because Flash player is defeat. What was the phrase? Beating ASLR since.
Yeah. I think in reality, you'd also just try all of them.
Yeah, you'd bundle everything, and you just.
Yeah. Like the one occasion I remember where somebody just got emails.
Hacking is quite nice because in the real world, if you took like a chainsaw and then you sellotaped an axe to it, and then you sellotaped like a stone to it, and you threw it all through someone's window, it probably wouldn't work. But on the internet, it kind of does. You know, you just make some Franken monster of things.
Yeah,
and then...
a very popular way of infecting people with banking trojans is the classic exploit kit. So if you were to go to an adult content website and you got served a nice little advert, one of those adverts might have a little iframe that takes you to silently to a page, and it just tries a series of the most current things. Usually there's something bundled with Flash there. The big one at the minute is there are two. One is called Emotet, and the other one is Emotet usually drops something called TrickBot.
TrickBot, yeah, not related to our droned person previously.
But they will go through and it will just try against your browser 7 or 8 different things completely unrelated, and if one of them works, you get malwared.
There you go.
I think the best analogy for this is if you've ever been to somewhere like Egypt to the pyramids, and you get off the bus and the people see you coming that want to hawk some cheap souvenirs, and then you have to walk past them all, and eventually you're just going to get a bit of papyrus or something.
Yeah, listen, I got
like
that. The tiny the guy over there.
Yeah,
my money's gone.
Yeah, okay.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. I think that's how computers act. Like they'd eventually just roll over into the submission and just right, fine, give you my secrets.
So, McFly, I think, needs to head off because of the extra hour. He's going to turn into a pumpkin in Germany if we're not careful. So, McFly, do you want us? Have you got enough time to see through this social engineering attack? I think we've only got one step to do.
Yep,
Cool.
Yes.
Sack a thing. Come on.
We've got our email database of one email. We've chosen our file format of PDF. The payload is a reverse shell. And now we have to select the email template. Do we want to use a CV application, a sales report, IT support? IT support is the classic.
Are they based? They're based in Germany, this company, right?
They are. Business RFP or consumer inquiry / class action lawsuit.
What is the title of this person?
Well, they're concierge services person, aren't they? So.
Okay.
I saw no
Senior
CV and no
representative.
sales report.
No.
Senior representative. I would go with the IT support.
Yeah.
What even is a business RFP, like a request for pancakes or pancreas?
It'd be a
or...
request for something, won't it? Business RFP. Request for payment?
RFP, yeah. It is.
Yeah, IT support or request for payment. I mean, if they're senior, they're going to be able to process that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll pick that one. Yeah.
Yeah. You
By the way, in the land of sending malicious emails with bad attachments in Germany, the most common is CV, from what I've seen. You have, is McFly all correctly, but is it Bewerbung?
Yeah, Bewerbung.
I see tons of emails with really janky document attachments, Bewerbung, this, that, the other, and you go, well, if you're applying for a sales position and we don't have any sales in our organization, you're probably not going to win that game.
No.
But
Yeah, so the funny story about this that's come entirely from my imagination and has no basis in reality, but a lot of the job recruitment websites maybe like theoretically weren't always that secure. And the great thing about them is they've got hundreds of CVs that are going to be sent to large companies that are probably going to open them because they've got some relationship with this recruiter. So you don't really even have to try. You just sort of, somebody's already made the CV, you just make a few minor amendments and theoretically Bob's your uncle.
So we've got to add a subject line here for this this social engineering.
Do not open this attachment.
Yeah,
A bit of reverse psychology there. Yeah. Don't not unopen this non-attachment.
I mean, I think they're going to let me run this. Enter
The board would like to you to not see this document.
Right. What company are we writing this from? I can't even remember what we're sending them.
Is this a
request for
payment? Do not open this attachment unless you want.
check out this one attachment that allowed four European people to revolutionize their progress in life.
This is from europrogresspeople.com.
Yeah.
There you go.
Realistically, the human psychology that you use is you give them a sense of panic and then a sense that something has to be done urgently. So it's a final request for payment before court commences, or something like that. It's all pretty simple.
Hence the urgency.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, if you want to actually do this whole social engineering thing up in that reality there.
Failed?
What?
Yeah. Well.
What? How? Back to attack vectors. Right. Okay. Does it tell us why? No, we don't get a report that tells us why. Okay. Oh, surely I can use the same email that I used before. Oh, you have to do it all over again.
Oh no. Well, yeah, that's a shame.
All right.
We picked the wrong thing.
That is renaming RFP from proposal to payment.
Try the next. It's a game. Unlike in reality where people would get suspicious.
Yeah.
They don't get that suspicious.
Yeah, they got way too much spam.
So I don't seem to be able to autocomplete or reuse the email I entered before. So
As a security department, never tell any of the employees of the company you're working in to report suspicious emails to you. Don't do that.
Oh, make sure that we spell the email address correctly.
Wouldn't that be awful? Okay.
Some poor unrelated capture.
We did. Matt Lowry, this is your fault. Did you guess when I was saying what's the email address before?
Do I ever do anything other than guess at everything?
It's not catcher.mailer, it's mailer.catcher.
Oh, there were two options.
Okay, let's fix that.
I only wrote down her phone number.
One thing on your mind.
That's what you say.
This is adding a bit of realism because the actual number of things that work the first time is vanishingly few. Really, in the real world, it's secret is actual persistence.
Oh yeah, you're talking weeks to months for a project a lot of the time. Long time.
And those are the two secrets: is being persistent and the methodological search of the space of possibilities. Like between those two things, you could probably teach a gerbil to hack.
Look at all of the things all the time is the key.
Yeah.
You will find things. There was
so you just try the same stuff again to the correct email address.
Yeah, try.
Yeah.
If you use the correct email address, the email will probably send.
I mean, did we not get a bounce at least? Come on, this is terrible. I'm going to put in a feature request.
Maybe I didn't look at the report properly.
But yeah, if you want to do this whole social engineering out there, the audience they're watching, pretty much it stems on two concepts: cognitive bias and logical fallacy, both of which you can read extensively about. If you read books on social engineering, they talk about making scripts up so that you have sort of like a character to play and blah blah. The actual underpinning psychology of it is using cognitive bias and logical fallacy. Two that Larry named earlier were saying, well, I'm an important person, and that's called appeal to authority, very well known informal fallacy, and I'm very important, but this is a bad thing, and this is urgent, and this must happen now, and do you have any idea who I am? These kind of things. Populist argument ad baculum, I believe, was the one where you go, you're going to get in trouble kind of thing.
Yeah.
Google these things. There are extensive pages on this, and pinning your thing off some of these concepts will open lots of doors, physically and otherwise.
And it's not you can actually try this without engaging in serious crime with your friends.
Exactly.
You can pick a very low level thing and try and get them to do it. So I used to try out with things like getting someone to pick up my pint glass when it's right in front of me. So I just say, is there something etched into the bottom of the? It looks like this. Is there some sort of like logo or something etched? And they pick up the pint glass. And and they've just passed it to you, and then you just sort of let them know that you've just Jedi mind powered them into picking up your drink. You start off with small things like that.
Sorry, I've just realised there's an entire graphic on the left-hand side of the estimated efficiency of our thing that I just completely wasn't looking at all. We've had our payload detected, which means that we need to go back and change something around there.
Yeah, we need to. If we use PDF, we'd have to use something else. Try custom DLL zip, sorry, something like that.
Palatuna has also pointed out that if we get the email address wrong, that estimated efficiency goes to 100% because it'll 100%. I guess it'll 100% work, but for an email that doesn't exist. Right, so
this is a good thing to try at work. If you save everything into the recycle bin, then you know that it's going to be 100% efficient.
Right, so what is it? MEHLER mailer. I wish there was a way of just adjusting a payload in that tool and reusing it. It didn't seem to
also reality hacking contains quite a lot of copy and paste. This is also a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think you can copy and paste some of this stuff. Definitely can't right click on that.
This actually makes me think of an idea I was thinking about earlier, which is somebody should you have to be a bit clever with the software, but instead of Twitch where you just watch people play a game, you turn it into a cybernetic augmented team where other people can be doing clicks, they can be lining up interactions for you, they can act as your copy paste, you can parallel them in, or they can just be advising you and adding things onto a little information sheet. I'd like to.
We could enable this with a pirate pad and a set of tightly controlled VNCs, probably.
Yeah, you could hack it up. It's getting the interface really fluid. That's where you'd get the power, because you want everyone to know what they're doing, and you don't want people to be stepping on each other's toes. But it's totally doable. It just takes a few people to sit down for a few months or a few weeks.
I'm just not paying attention because I'm listening to you guys rather than typing properly. Right, we're getting there.
But this is something I need to chat with Ents about for our relaunch of a certain quasi-paramilitary organisation, which might be happening in the near future.
Does copy and paste work in this game? I mean, opening an editor, typing the email address in there.
Over and over again. Yeah, there isn't a copy and paste. Not for some of them. There is in places.
Maybe the BND's union worked out a get paid per character typed sort of deal in the negotiations, so everyone's just gonna making the most of it. Sometimes it is at work. Actually, I could just write a bit of JavaScript that would make closing an alarm much more efficient.
As a German, I wouldn't think very high of the BND, but other countries might see that different.
Yeah. I don't think. I mean, people only really have respect for intelligence agencies when they're thinking about them in like James Bond terms, and particularly the domestic one. Or you might like the FSB if they're doing things against another government that you don't like. But it's hard to have that romantic a view of any nation state's intelligence agency.
Well, they keep enabling mass malware drops all over.
Yeah.
It's for the good they do with releasing things like, for example, the nice reverse engineering tool Ghidra.
Ghidra's good. I mean, they're earning back a little bit of kudos.
Yeah, exactly. Open sourcing.
But then, I mean, think about it the other way. Years before they did this, they were in part responsible through negligence for a massive global cost. Not to mention the damage. I mean, the actual cost of defending against something that was enabled by their stuff leaking out. Ghidra doesn't offset what.
No. Yeah.
But people have conveniently gone, oh look though, this tool is nice and shiny, and therefore love you. It's not how it works, guys.
It's
Also,
it's a little bit you're paying for PR.
Exactly. Well, also you're paying for it. The taxpayer.
Well, this is true.
It's shiny.
In theory, the US government by default, all of their creations are public domain. It's one of these nice features that they kind of wrote into the Constitution. So if they do sort of misplace some attack tools, they can't really claim any ownership of it because it does belong to we the people.
Right, how are we doing?
I'm doing okay. Someone in the Discord has said that you can copy and paste on most things, but I don't seem to be able to highlight that email address in any way, so I do have to type it in every time. Right.
I mean, the stop. What I meant by copy and paste is Alt-Tab, switch out of the game, into a text file.
Write it somewhere else.
Type the email in there, mark it, Control-C and Control-P into the game, because you've typed it in like 20 times now.
Oh, we're getting a hint. Maybe we're not launching attack against the right person. What if someone stupid enough to open the attachment can be discovered with other database building ways, i.e. not manual entry? That's true. Yeah, we could just attempt to. I mean, if SE Toolkit.
Okay.
Let's try that. Yep.
Just build a email database, scraping all sent.
I will also head out at this point because I really need to go to bed.
No worries. Cool. Thanks.
It's very nice. Please message me again next time. I'll join again.
Cool. We'll look forward to having you.
Take care, McFly.
See you all. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah. It was nice talking to you too. See you next time.
See you. Bye.
Bye now.
Right. So basically enter the domain, which is krugerservices.net. No.de. crawling open source databases and third-party databases, we've found 30 emails already. That's going to make it a little easier, isn't it? That's 31 emails that we have a chance at. Thanks, Palatuna. That's much more helpful.
That is the word to do it. Yeah, it's weird because you're. I guess maybe they with their like this is the thing, right? If you're trying to approach this from their perspective as an intelligence agency, it's easier for them to go, oh yeah, you know what? Let's target the whole organization this way. Normally, if you want to be quiet and not be detected, you don't want to.
You would try one or two people. Yeah.
You'd try and. But yeah, if you're the NSA, then yeah, do whatever.
Is someone able to keep an eye on the Twitch? Because it turns out we might have had a few hints some while ago.
Yeah, I've got
Am I able to even see the chat? Oh yeah, I need to come out of a full screen.
Restream is talking in YouTube. I can see some of it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, someone said all I'm hearing is scam your friends, and no, enable them to understand how the world works would be a better way to say it, or them from how do you call it?
Naivety.
Naivety, yeah.
It's a little bit like you kind of tell jokes about each other in school, not necessarily to be mean and pick on people, but to develop a kind of robustness and ability to appreciate humour and to give as good as you take. And it's a kind of thing that we have to do with each other if we want to have any sense of security in a world where everything's connected. You do have to do a bit of sparring, and as long as it's play fighting, it's what kittens and lions and puppies do. Then as long as you're not biting the jugular, then it's not that terrible.
Someone, the same person said, all of these totally legal activity tips are so nice. Well, they are legal. I mean, we're talking about very highly defined things in some aspects. Some of them are very loosely defined, unfortunately, still. But if you're in the context where nobody is harmed, and if permission is required for certain things, permission is given, there's no illegality whatsoever. For example, sometimes you can play artistic licensing. So when people want to learn how to do some of the bits, right? The two things I recommend are talking to taxi drivers and talking to scam phone calls, because they're fair game, really, in some opinion. But if you talk to a taxi driver, the game I try and get people to play is you have to get as much information as possible using the fewest words possible, and there really is you can get quite good at things with just a few little muttering. All you have to do is have them acknowledge that you empathize, you understand their situation, and you will get torrential information from a taxi driver.
The champion of this, I think, is Louis Theroux in his documentary making. So he's got an interviewing style where he weaponizes the pregnant pause. So he'll ask a question. He's got this very disarming expression. He's very, he seems very harmless. He asks the question. It's quite direct. He lets them give the evasive answer, and then he just waits and looks with these kind of Louis Theroux puppy dog eyes. And then they say something more, and they say something more, and eventually they're kind of spilling the beans. So it's sometimes silence is the best kind of follow-up question.
Palatura's got the right gist now. They've said, if I hypothetically get in trouble for any crimes I don't commit, I will credit these guys for not teaching me any techniques. And that's exactly right. Yeah. Plausible deniability all the way. As I was kind of glancing at the chat, I actually missed that our spam has worked. So we've
Excellent.
got.
Does that mean we've got a shell?
We've got
a shell.
We've got sort of, what are these called again? A C2 instance.
Right. So these are. So they call these cards, and the way that they've done this, Larry, is that if you have, once you've infected the person, they pop up as like you have them on your roller. You can flip through these cards and you can jump out, much like the operation of Hola back in the day. You've got nodes and you pipe through, and the people have no idea that.
Or the operation of Hola today.
The the operation of Holders today, so that it seems. Yeah, VPN, got to be careful.
Did anyone check the Telegraph to see if they did publish anything on that, or did the Mossad, sorry, the CEO of Illuminati, satisfy them that it wasn't dodgy?
I don't know. I haven't checked to see if they've done the thing.
No, I didn't hear back.
Oh no, Agent Dylan just is talking about the same stuff at the beginning of the mission. We've got our infected Doodah.
Okay.
We've connected our remote shell to them, which means we should be able to infiltrate their network somehow.
Well, we have infiltrated, technically, if we're on a box in their thing. So once from there, depending on what device he's got, we would be able to jump.
We want to go onto the file browser then? Because we're technically now on there.
Well, we can do a number of things, right? We can, as you rightly say, grab all information on that device, and realistically, you would clone all information on that device to go through at your leisure somewhere else. But which is what they kind of want us to do, I think, because they say infiltrate the network.
I think we now have a point of presence, so we go back to our general hacking tools, information gathering tools, and we use the fact that we're inside their network to do a bit more scanny boys.
Pivot around.
So
the thing to know here is what's the soft underbelly of the armadillo. So you know already this is a Windows network. You've got 5 devices that are Windows. So if you've got any tools there that are good at looking at the kinds of things that
they've even modelled WMI in here.
Yeah. I mean that would be the thing to do. The soft thing is going to be hashes left on Windows machines. So you somehow 20 years later you can still extract the plain text credentials or hashes from the LSASS, and then you pivot through the network and you start getting more fun things.
So
Maybe,
go on. I've clicked on the right thing, I think. WMI scanner. This module is a recon and mapping tool designed to help you discover a target's internal service and application exposed via the WMI technology. This tool is used to map out internal network and will only work if you're already connected to a VPN. Well, we've got reverse shell VPN that we're connected to, right?
Yeah.
So
we're piped in. So
I need to type net scan. It will run a 5-second scan of the target's entity. So let's try that.
So again, a little factual context. WMI is was it Windows management interface? Is it?
Yes, it was like its own little mini shell from which you could do things. You would drop down into a different shell, and you'd have inbuilt commands for it. But as we mentioned, I think we mentioned last time on the stream, if you are a nice website on the internet, people are throwing various exploit payloads at you, and very commonly they try and use WMI once they've got their first foothold. So this is what attackers are doing right now. They're still doing this. You see WMI.
What's the real word analogy? It's like getting the principal's intercom thing, and then you can start telling the other teachers what to do if your voice sounds similar enough to the principal or the management, whoever can bark those orders down the tubes.
Or just send various local supermarket employees on random errands via the speaker system, which is you definitely not do. It's all well and good saying, "Hey, social engineer random people around," but don't mess with supermarket workers.
Okay, we've got some paths that I can now use the dig tool on, apparently, or the dig command here. So.
It's not dig the actual tool though from memory. They did something different with it. It wasn't domain info, was it?
No, I think they've taken a bit of artistic license and broadened the dig. Dig is just DNS historically, but this is kind of just find out a bit more.
It's not even. It's talking about a local network rather than anything related to DNS.
It's just the thing you run after Netscan.
Nicely, we've already come up with something vulnerable. So this path ER counting /finances is using the Simple ERP service on port 9090, and it's fun.
1990. Well,
9090.
if it's account finance, we're looking for a database. That's what that tells us, isn't it? That's what they have. They have databases on these things.
So
if you see a domain, if you see like a host name with or a domain sub or something with account in it, accounting or finance, there is a database somewhere.
Well, we want to go on exploit DB, right?
Can I tell you a funny story that's definitely past the statute of limitations that no longer exists in the UK?
Yeah, okay. Just
I
make
did my,
sure that you do your plausible deniability.
Someone I know or don't know, which one is it?
Someone I don't know.
Swim. Someone who isn't me. For their when they were 15 and got to go to the local council because they asked to do something with computers, and it turns out what the local council wanted them to do with computers is type up invoices all day, which was utterly horrific. So this person spent a lot of time in the restroom hiding, and then a little bit of time memorizing IP addresses, and then just on a hunch went to the library, which had these newfangled internet terminals, and just typed some of those IP addresses in. And obviously this was, turn of the century, and they hadn't heard of network segmentation, so you could get into the accounts database server through Telnet, but it was as soon as you logged in by Telnet with a very easily guessable username and password, it would run a little script to put you into this terminal interface where you are more limited. But obviously this script is just running in the dot profile of the account, so you could just log in as FTP, change that, and then log back in with the easily shared password and do some more fun things. And then that kid didn't have to go to work experience for the rest of the week because they were politely invited not to. So there you go. That's something to remember.
You must have talked to this person quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they opened up to you quite a lot about this.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So we found we found a CVE on the Simple ERP.
Oh yeah. What's the CVE?
CVE 2014-6284.
Oh no. Yeah, 6284. No. What was
we've
shell
got
shock?
a new item available.
Something.
Is that a drop? Is that a Twitch that's just happened? Is that my first time that we've made the Twitch integration actually work? I don't know. We've got a new item available called an assassin, and I've got no idea why that would have turned up. On the Twitch stream, does it have like either of you guys looking at that? Does it have the title of the game somewhere at the bottom, and does it say anything about Twitch drops or anything?
Category is Nite Team 4, so that's related to the game.
Does it say connected to Twitch integration or something along those lines?
Integration. No mention of integration.
No.
It's got Discord link, Twitter link, YouTube, Reddit link. Some recommended channels.
It's meant to say enable in-game drops with account link or drops enabled. Watch for a chance.
Broadcaster has not enabled in-game drops, so that's something you have to do.
That's not true. I tried to do it.
They lie.
Okay. Well, at least we know it's not working.
It's part of the game. You have to.
Has said we don't have it on as well. Yeah. Lee Cred, by the way, sorry that I've missed what you've been trying to hint at us doing better in the chat. I'll keep better eye on that. Right, so we've got this CVE. Simple Enterprise before 15.7 allows remote attackers to bypass the challenge and response mechanism through TCP and obtain access to the probe account via a custom SOAP request using the Assassin rootkit. Oh, right, okay, we've just been given the Assassin rootkit by the game. It wasn't a Twitch drop.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we need to go to the old, whatever the tool... Was it Hydra that was being used to...
Hydra runs against various login things.
Yeah.
It's a brute force. Many-headed beast.
We're talking about a specific...
how do we...
Would you say it was
How do we use this Assassin rootkit?
Assassin rootkit. It'll be in your tools now. I think it would have been added to your tools. I
But
imagine.
you've got to drop that rootkit with a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got the IP address and the port, so we need to
Yeah.
craft this SOAP request in Assassin.
Custom SOAP request. It says custom SOAP request using the Assassin rootkit.
Yeah.
Does that say using there? Okay, they have been a bit artistic then.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't make
Was
your...
it just the
Make
turbine?
rootkits are
Was it the
targeting
turbine
clients.
registry? No, the turbine registry.
Turbine
was
is your
each of your
C2
things.
network.
Do you remember
might-
there was a thing that we used that was a bit like Cobalt, that we kind of pieced together malware with, like modular malware?
Yeah, it's something like... it was like a Metasploit clone, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it says you create SOAP request using Assassin toolkit. And that, well, that's not
Fox
right.
Acid. It was
Oh,
called
Fox Acid, okay.
Yeah. Thanks,
What we
Palatona.
used?
Oh, because Fox Acid is their launch exploits at you when you making
Yeah,
requests.
and
sites.
Fox Acid it has some kind of historical reference as well, right? Is that an actual
That's
NSA tool?
an NSA toolkit, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
part of their. It's related to their quantum thing, so they can sort of inject stuff. If I'm recollecting correctly, actually, I better go check this. Don't want to impugn
By the way-
honor of the. Yeah, it's tailored access operation, so it sends back exploits that load in the background when you're browsing an innocuous
Ooh.
page, because they can inject into the HTTP or into the TLS if they've broken it.
I'm just reading
So
a
that-
bit that I had been goaded on the Discord for not reading. Basically, he's saying that the company that provided the service that we found a vulnerability for actually put the backdoors in on purpose for us, the CIA, NSA, DOD, etc.
A bit
Very
like Juniper didn't do. Oh no, wait, they can't see me. A bit like Juniper did.
What, the Sun
the
Zoom?
inverted quotes don't work when your camera's not on.
It doesn't. I mean, they don't even have to now, because all of these, like Cisco and Juniper, all the code quality is getting so bad that they don't even have to pay an insider to change the parameters of the elliptic.
Well,
curve.
someone's just found a way to jump into Fortinet with a disclosed password vulnerability. How are they doing that in 2019? But that's just happened.
Yeah, so how that worked was this incredibly obscure concept called putting ... / into a language, which where has that happened before?
Amazing.
Historically in products made by Adobe and many other people. It was only a minor bit of difficulty where it used an SN printf with a 0x42 characters, so you had to pad it with enough / to chop off the .js on at the end. So it was only obvious if you were looking for it. So that's probably why it wasn't found earlier. But it's one of those borderline things that could be a bug door, because it's we forgot that paths can be traversed.
We forgot that you can navigate across
//
Yeah.
Right, so that has worked. We've deployed our vulnerability payload.
Nice.
We now have new entities unlocked by gaining access to this network that we can run through XKeyscore.
Excellent.
So let's
Ghost all of the information. I feel there's a
use
drone
all of-
coming. I can feel it. We're getting more success screens, and then
calling in the air tonight. Right, so I mean,
I was going to take a different song. I was going to go for you've got that droney feeling, but I won't abuse you with my attempt at the melody. You lost that droney feeling.
I mean, the thing is that this, I could just spaff it and throw everyone into XKeyscore, and then it'll take about 20 minutes
may as well.
to process.
Oh, yeah, it does take time, doesn't it?
I've got a
Does
server. The XKeyscore tool that the NSA run has a server capacity of 3 people. So I can only do 3 at a time. cheap,
You
people. The cloud processing, surely for X key score.
No.
it's
Cloud-
Apache Hadoop.
Yeah. If you go to a popular cloud provider, they will scale everything beautifully, but you are paying, and when you don't have that money, everything takes ages, and that's what they don't tell you. They go, yeah, sure, it'll scale. We will model the globe for you in one instance, but you're going to pay us. How much did Uber agree to pay for the next 3 years? It was something like ridiculous $1 billion.
Well, that's going to make a huge
Contract.
dent in their negative several million profits that they've never made.
So people pay through the nose for just being able to have their business at the current scale that it is and lock themselves into contracts.
But it's fine if like capitalism doesn't have to make any sense. If you can take over an entire industry without making a shred of profit, just because all bets are off, the world's going to end. Let's just make it up as we go along.
I mean, this is going to take a long time. You really ribbed on the Discord server. Palatuna, whatever your real name is, says, I think we're overestimating their ability to look at context clues. I mean, this X key score thing, right? We have to have a bit of a think about who we're supposed to be X key scoring. But to be honest, I can't actually even remember what the main objective of this mission is.
Well, we had to infiltrate a network and roam around the place. And I feel that earlier on in our session today, there were a number of items that we discovered that had information on them, and it would be strange for those things not to be pertinent later on. So the business card we've kind of done to death, I reckon.
Yeah, true enough.
There were other things in there. There was like you said there was a some document about a person, and then there was like a building deed title thing, which has not come up yet.
Yeah, that's true.
There must be other bits that we need to do here, but they wouldn't have put those in if they weren't of value, right?
So what?
Unless someone
is the globe our X key score, or is it you just sort of chuck things on that if you want them to be correlated?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so
I mean, I can't even remember how.
Have we obtained anything from this ERP? Have we snaffed the database? We do, yeah, we have that. Okay.
Hang on a sec. Get these briefing files up again. Dan Friedel, his property that had some other dude in it.
Is there another name? If there's another name, we want it.
Marcel Moella. So we can try that. Is Marcel Moella somewhere?
Yeah. In reality, you would take everything, and normally things will take time. So you pipe them somewhere, and then you go off and I don't know, watch Hackers or some other film.
Yeah, and generally in reality, there's actually several tiers of people that have different specialised jobs. So the tailored access operations operatives that would get all of this stuff would just pass it on to a team of analysts who sit and pore over things in painstaking detail, and they will sift it to another team, or sift it to another team. But unfortunately, you've got to do this all yourself, unless we invent this system that allows loads of people to play the game at once.
Well, actually, guess what? They do have multiplayer on this, but not on this story mode, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because otherwise someone would just play your story for you, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, this is my ultimate aim. So the video game is just a pretext to get people cooperating on a massive scale online using modern technologies, and then I'm going to pivot from that into letting people run my life for me. So it's a lot more effective. I have a devastating lack of executive function. I can sort of get out of bed most days until I got a job where I don't have to. So that's out the window. But there's a load of like bored people who would like to sort of pilot my life as a sort of video game. It might be fun, and then I reckon I could be really efficient. So no, it's actually a semi-serious proposal for people that just want a bit of help each other be more effective human beings. So I want to get cybernetically enhancing people. Ray report on the property deed.
The drone is lurking around the corner, apparently. So, Lee Cred, we need some help. We need some kind of tip, because, quite frankly, X key score feels like something I should just be able to press a button and it will just search everyone and tell me what their relationships are. But if I have to do them 3 at a time, and there are 12 of them.
Can you bring up the rental agreement on X key score? Is that a entity in X key score? The rental agreement document.
Oh,
well,
sorry.
Did we find
are you talking to me there, Larry?
Yeah, yes, I was. Yeah, if the rental agreement document is an entity on X key score, if you can raise that, and you've got an option to change switchy some of the rounds. So I think.
Yeah, they made this look more Multigo-y, really. So pivoting is what we'll have to do here.
I think you find the right connection between 2 entities, and it's like removing a link and adding a link, and it's like a relatively small search space to fuzz. Someone should just chuck a fuzzer on this and see how quickly it gets through things, right? Like
so Lakrad has said...
We have the Kruger database, yeah, and you're looking for Dan Friedel. Okay, fair enough. Right, but I thought I'd already thrown him in. Maybe I didn't. Let's just run that then. Financial transactions on these 2. Press play. No, that's not going to do it.
Computer says no.
Oh, no, it did work. Rental agreement. We've got more data. Dan Friedel, John Schaffer. Click to zoom. Oh, it's taking ages to load. Whoa. Okay, we've got John Schaffer, a congratulations agent. We've got a new entity to search on X key score.
So, rinse, lather, repeat.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
that's what you would do. Now we have that person. Then remember the context of the other names that we found.
So, because we're ultimately interested in a Kruger's client.
Yeah. So now we do have the client transaction list.
Yeah. So we're going to pivot through that to another client potentially.
By the look of this, John Schaffer manages more than Dr. Ripper's house. Not sure if he's a simple broker, but then again, it wouldn't surprise me if Dr. Ripper wasn't the lone wolf we thought he was. Can we run a background check against Schaefer and the other names?
There's a film about that, by the way, about the John the Ripper not being the simple lone agent that people thought he was. It's quite good. It's a bit hammy, but I can't remember what it's called now.
Is that where
just called the Ripper?
Cracking software's name comes from? Then?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's an allusion to that. I don't think there's that many other Jack the Ripper people.
I thought it was John the Ripper, though.
John the Ripper is the
cracker. Yeah, is the software.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. So yeah, they probably they just took Jack the Ripper and changed it to John. Like that was the other one, Cain and Abel. That was a nice biblical reference.
Yeah. Oh, so by the way, Larry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the whole not a lone agent thing, is that not on with Johnny Depp in it?
Yeah. Everyone's got these ridiculous accent, Cockney accents and Irish accents. And,
it's called From Hell.
Yeah, From Hell. Yeah, that's a good one. If you're into those sort of creepy things, that's all right. It's pretty good.
If you wanna see how society has regressed back to an earlier time where occur and a group of elites oppress pretty much everybody into poverty, look no further than the film. or the
Yeah.
current leadership of the UK.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
And
sure.
also, I don't want to
was
give away any spoilers, but it is based on an actual theory that's it's just a little bit too romantic to be, not romantic to be true. What's the word? Salacious to be true, but is an interesting theory.
It was a theory that someone they modelled the film after somebody who had come out and declared that was what was going on. Of the 6 or 7 theories that became popular, that was one of them. Someone had genuinely considered at one point.
Yeah. It's just it just implicated went to the top, shall we say?
So
A bit like today's situation.
I'm meant to be running a background check against the other houses that this John Schaefer guy managed. But the problem is I can't find the document that he's referring to. It's not in our briefing files. It's something we've just gotten.
Well, we got some kind of rental agreement, and we have some kind of property deed from earlier.
I guess we can get rid of a few of these things. We can get rid of the Kruger ERP database.
Well, can we hang on? Can we around there?
I think we need to get another. We need to find another place that's managed by the same chap, Schaffer.
So yeah, it was.
So that'll be through the client transaction list. I think it's the client transaction list. It's moving on from Dan Friedel to someone else on that list.
So Palatuna said it's always beneficial to look at the documents that X-Keyscore discovers. Oh right, they're there as those nodes. Can I just click on them again? Yeah, I can.
Have we not been reading them? Yeah,
no, we haven't, because they were popping up and disappearing before I could do anything with them.
Oh really? Yeah, no, we need to read all the things.
Sometimes the answer is just staring you in the face. Thanks, Angel ID.
Yeah, but this is also realistic. So sometimes you have a lot of shells, and then before you get a chance to look at them, they disappear again. Yeah, on an authorized penetration test.
Yes, of course.
Right, so John Schaefer's house thingy. I've just closed X-Keyscore by mistake. Whoops. Client transaction list. We need to basically look at these people. Sophie Atchen, John Pfaff, Martin Brandt, Michelle Fiedler, Dan Friedel. So try and remember those names. I wonder whether they want... I guess they don't need John Schaffer's relationship to it because they know that he manages their properties now. So we'll just search them on their own, maybe? So
this is... What are these people then? What is this document?
This is
it's their
client's transaction list.
Yeah, so I think you swap out Dan Friedel and then you swap those people in pretty much iteratively, one at a time or whatever. I mean,
was Andrea Voch one of those people? I can't remember. Already I've forgotten. No, she wasn't. Sophie.
Yes, we got two. Sophie Arkin. Then it probably doesn't matter what order.
We're Arkin.
Arkin.
Where's she at? There, she's there. Get rid of Andrea. Don't need her. It's not letting me run it yet, though. I must need more information on that. Maybe I do still need him in there. What was his name again?
Have we read all of the documents yet?
Well, skimmed them.
Yeah, it's definitely this client transaction that we need to be.
I mean, we could read this rental agreement if we wanted to. For getting the full.
I think that got us to Schaffer, but
in the first place. Yeah, it did. Yeah, true enough. Cool. All right.
Probably a mix-up thing here. It's the hacking game of you open up, you've got 10 cards face down, and you have to click on one and find the corresponding one somewhere else, right? No, not that one, and then you still don't win it. Because the game's rigged anyway. Oh no, we're the NSA. We're the one who rigged it.
I don't know. We managed to upset idea again because we haven't looked at the right highlighted bit. You can add X keys. Oh right, yeah, you can add them to the case files and then come back to them. Yeah, should have done that. Right, so Kruger database and John Schaffer again. We'll do that again.
Oh, did we not? Did we not ghost these things to storage locally?
No, I didn't.
We need to do this. We're gonna have to run a hacking course, I think.
Oh, speaking of which, today I
thing.
purchased an 2002 LDV Convoy, which is going to be turned into a mobile hack lab. So if
Okay.
Off Grid would like to come to a branding sponsorship arrangement, get me a few antenna gubbins to put on the top, that would be good, and we can
Sure,
maybe
we're
have
gonna
a
have to-
playable. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to talk to you about aux batteries and isolating switches, because that's actually how you want to do that.
Yeah. So I've got a 260 watt solar panel that I already destroyed a one charge controller with, because it didn't occur to me that there was such a thing as too many amps of sunlight in the UK. That wasn't like I just didn't think I could plug this in and it would be too much electricity, because it's not something you imagine like living in England. But it was. So I need to get a beefier charge controller, MPPT, and there's already a couple of leisure batteries in there, so it's just split charging you want to work on.
So I mean, we got a fun little vinyl kind of cutter printer thing for being able to make T-shirts and stuff, so we can make custom stickers for your van.
Yeah. Let's do some, what they call them, decals.
We can do some
decals.
Some hack lab decals.
Yeah, and we can get a bit of Rummery and LHQ, Milliways, get it all on
Definitely.
there.
I've got the one I'm trying to push at the minute is it just says the internet is a CTF.
It's a CTF, yeah.
In console green.
Yep. Oh my god. Oh, can we have a big D-Gauze button on the outside? It's got some sort of big screen on one of the outsides, and it needs to have a button you can press that's D-Gauze, and it just like does the realistic CRT D-Gauze it. I'm just gonna look that up on YouTube now just to give myself a little thrill of joy. So it's just one button, it just made a ka-chunk, and then the whole, like, people will not have seen this because they were born this millennium, but you press the button and it just like reset the magnetic thing that turns the electron beam, and it looked amazing. So look up CRT degauzing, because it's like you missed out, kids.
None of them will have had a TV where you have to turn the dial like a radio to hone in on the right channel. It's amazing. For step one, when in a place, you must remember, Rich, ghost everything to another place, and then if you get booted out, you have all the things.
Yeah, the difference is it's like a weird kind of funny button up in the top right-hand corner that you have to remember, rather than just SCPing everything, isn't it? So you tried it without that database. You need all three entities active. Okay, no, but that's what I just did, isn't it?
So if I was making this game, developing this, going to do a sequel, I would insist that you have to make it more automatable. Just even if you had a very simplified scripting language, so that you can do it again and actually do it super fast and efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could show, like people do speed runs on Mario. You know, you should be able to do a speed run on a hacking game.
Over time, you would build up your aliases and your scripts as per reality.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, I never have to do that again, because
it's
there's 100 Python that will do it for me.
So we're basically sitting right on the answer. I need you to concentrate your brain power into helping us solve this, because I'm sort of having a hard time both conversing and thinking about this at the same time.
So I'm 100% sure that we go on. Do we have a rental agreement for Sophie Arkin yet?
No, we don't have anything else. There's these property IDs. I don't know whether they're useful, but I mean.
Client transaction list.
Yeah, one of those names will hook to one of the. What was the name? The
John
person
Chapman.
themselves, John.
Yeah. Who's here? He's here in this list, and that's why these are highlighted. But I can't work out what on X key score we're supposed to do with any of these entities.
Aren't we supposed to create a link between them, and then it does some magic and says, "Oh, we found this," or you linking and delinking different people? Like you had to put people in there, right?
It's not very intuitive actually, the X key score bit, but I think you you click on a document entity, you you removed some person who's no longer of interest, you add some person who is of interest, but the removing thing doesn't make any sense logically, but that's
We
just
have
how
to.
they made it work.
I've been told the answer.
Go with you.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is trying to search for these people on this transaction list, and the whole point is the transaction list actually already pointed it out. So I'm just supposed to remove that and drop back in the Kruger ERP database, because that's what we were searching against before.
Oh, I see.
Which
So
makes
now,
total sense. But I just
once you pass this information, you re-init the. Okay.
So there we go. So now we have her rental agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we just iterate this process. We click on it,
we
give it a read, and then we iterate that for everyone else on the client. This is where you write a 2-line bit of Perl code or Bash code if you're not 34.
Or even if you are.
Or even if you are, yeah. I do write a lot of things in Bash these days, but you know it's going to be jokes and more mental gymnastics if you do it in Perl. You know, so I think that's an end in itself.
Right. So Agent Dylan said something there. Sophie Acton's house was listed on August 2017. Don't see anything else here. Okay, as in that's not useful, but we're going to add it anyway because we're greedy and it's data. So do the same with Jan Faf.
Yeah, we do it with the people, all the people. Read all the things, and there'll be something in there, and then the agent will go, you won the game by the
process.
The non-automated one. The non-scripted
so Jan
process.
Faf is the next one. So key score them.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about video games is that they get more and more complicated and more modalities of interaction, but there's somehow this inescapable exhaust the possibilities, mildly tediously aspect that never seems to disappear, which is also in life, but you know.
I mean, the purpose of this is, if they made a 30-minute game, it would not be commercially viable, right? But realistically, as soon as you found the name of the rental agreement, set company thing, whatever, and you go, well, here's my person, they work here, all of the things might be down here. You would just go to the rental agreement place and ghost them, and you'd have everything.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to. I mean, I know they've taken a few different things here and got people, because essentially what they're trying to model here is the workflow you might find from Maltego is an open source-ish pivoting framework. So you put bits of data in, you choose different processing things like social media or email things from somewhere or whatever. So you hop around, you find more things, you plot things out, but they've done it in a way that is not really true to how you would do it as a process. If you are trying to find certain information, you just find the common denominator, steal the data of that common denominator, rather than piecemeal through the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you might have different constraints based on different missions. So depending on what country you're operating in, compromising another person might be discouraged relative to this kind of tedious trawling and correlation. But often you'll take the path of least resistance, because that's just kind of the way people do. By the way, you mentioned Maltego, so we were talking about Ghidra earlier. So the Australian Signals Directorate, trying to also earn a bit of brownie points for contributing to open source, have released this Constellation program, which is data visualization and analysis tools. It's kind of basically Maltego, I think, and it might be quite good if you're into looking at a lot of data at once and finding patterns in it. So that might be another one to faff about with.
If you're lucky enough to be in an organization that has some form of enterprise virus total license, then I would highly recommend, if you're trying to hunt through for malicious files of any description, they have a similar graphing thing where you can pivot off different IPs, and strings might be found, and servers might be found. You can IPs are quite good. They have passive DNS records because Virus Total is Google, and they have essentially plugged the two concepts together: Google versus malicious files, and it works quite well.
Yeah, so yeah, if you have somehow, or your company has paid the several thousand money lol coins it takes to have download access to Virus Total, I strongly suggest you copy paste that API key into the chat right now, and I will buy you a lot of pints for the next year until it stops working. Because when the last one went away, life just got a bit more difficult. It's magic. You literally type in a hash and then the file appears. You know, it's like it is really good. It's like probably my favorite API that I no longer have access to.
I like they're very protective about their pricing. So I'm not 100% what the pricing is now, but if I were to guess, if you had an enterprise license rather than a research private one, I think it's an average between.
There we go. We've got the right rental agreement. Finally.
And 4.
Nice. No, there's digits and there's other digits. And there's, gets near to 5, I think, and you know they've cornered the market, so they can do it. So okay, what can we do now, Rich?
I don't know. We're getting so badly coded. Literally everyone completes this chapter in 30 minutes.
So what have we've done? Sophie, we've done Jan, we've done Martin, we've done Michelle.
Well, I thought I'd done that. It says data forensic analysis mission. It says that the mission's complete. I've got no idea how we completed it though. This happened last time.
Yeah, we clicked all the things and then it said it said you won the game. So.
It just said that he didn't find anything interesting in there.
I don't know.
Sometimes just exhausting the possibilities is the end of that subsection, but you want to have a bit more of a payoff narrative-wise when you just fab out that much.
I think we broke it again. The people in Discord will tell us. Did we break it? Did we break the mission?
Is this what happened last time? Did we glitch it out?
Yeah, I think so. We glitched the last mission too.
Well, then we're hacking the game, and therefore we win.
But I wish we'd done it on
code is the contract.
Code is the contract. That will never go wrong.
Yeah. So are there people still doing ICOs for large amounts of money?
Yes, they are.
I should really abandon my morals for a while and get paid as a consultant to make the pitches vaguely more plausible. I've got some friends that do that, and all you need to do is like paid a little bit of attention to Bitcoin for the last 5 years, and not have a soul.
You can do that with just finance in general, I have found.
Yeah, maybe I should do. I did try to get a very high-paying job recently, but they insisted on Googling me, so that was the end of that.
Yeah.
Bastards. One day I'll have my own search engine, and it'll bring up the exact results I want.
So yeah, we have clicked through the multi-ego thing.
We did.
X key score and glitched out a win. And we're gonna not question that. Continue.
I'm getting told that we didn't actually glitch it because this mission is in 2 parts, and we've just found enough information to then run a second part.
To get to
chapter 2. Yeah.
Okay.
So now, I guess maybe this is the drone part. Maybe it is literally you do.
Yeah, there'll be a drone.
Cross-reference German intel, investigate related entities, infiltrate 2 target networks, explore any external links.
Yeah.
Hang on, that sounds like what we just did. Is it not? Previous services, isn't it? Yeah, this is what should be
done. So we're going to take the people that we've just found out about, and we're going to find out. We're going to use an access to a database of employment, I guess, and find out who they.
Angel ID is heading off to bed. Thanks for watching Angel ID. Find a connected thread between the rented homes. Infiltrate two suspect networks. No, okay, this is a new mission or a new part. Yeah. We're going to have to dig deeper, it looks like. As Wheeler explained, we've unlocked multiple country-level databases. Police reports, emergency room admissions, tax registries, cab transports, airline services.
Yeah, see, hang on a minute. We've got... So how have we accessed this? How have we got all of this stuff now? Because that we were messing around with like some list of stuff, and then now we've got access to everything. What have we just inherited?
We
Something big.
all we did was go through the client list and see who had
Yeah.
rental agreements with Dan Friedel. With the same John Schaefer, the same person who managed Dan
Yeah.
Friedel's things. So we're now taking that list of people who have become people of interest, and we're gonna stalk them a bit to see.
Yeah, but I
I'm
mean,
guessing if they work for a certain company.
Rich has just said that we've got access to a load of other stuff now.
Yeah, I think we've been granted a German civilian and government databases, so we are
Right,
we're
yeah,
going to find out about a company that some of these people are working for.
see, wouldn't that be
Then
nice?
we're going to do a bit more network hacking to a rental company. Yeah, and look for fun stuff in the networks.
So Leakrad
So, yeah,
is going to help us work out what's going on as well.
So read out the types of things that we can because you listed a load of things and unfortunately I missed them. But you read out a load of different things that we actually could read.
Yeah, apparently we've unlocked multiple country-level databases. Police reports, emergency room admissions, tax registry, cab transports, airline activities. There's a lot to work with here, but fingers crossed we can link something. So we're back in X Keyscore again, but with many more databases. And
what have we got to determine?
Links between these people. Look for any travelling chatter in the area. What does that even mean?
Travelling chatter.
Say background conversation that may have some intelligence value based on current events.
You read out police stuff and taxi stuff, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
That's where chatter will happen. In police cars, on radios, and in cabs on radios.
Yeah, so isn't there already in the mission statement? We're going to find a company, and it's going to be providing some services that might allow us to listen to things or get some chatter.
Palatuna's heading off. Thanks for staying and chatting with us, Palatuna. Leakrad is going to help us in the Twitch chat. So, yeah, so you guys are right. Let's dump these. We've got 4 and 5 new databases, 6 new databases.
That are nice.
German cab transport, German airline passenger data, German animal registry, German ER registry, German police reports, German tax databases. So you reckon cab transport first?
Or the police one? Because if they're talking about travelling chatter,
Police
both
reports.
cabs and police go around in cars with network comm stuff, right?
Yeah.
In real life, if you wanted the
travelling chatter, there we go.
If you wanted the anything coming out of the German databases, you'd actually have to go and find it in China because they stored it. Semi-officially, that we're playing the statute of limitations game.
We've got a tax receipt for Mr. Faff. Okay, I get how X Keyscore works now. I don't think hopefully people watching are going to be less frustrated because do actually understand how it works.
So you've got to point and click.
Pretty much, and read the file. It turns up for you. Oh.
If we do multiplayer this and it ends up being hacking people versus gamers, you're gonna win involved.
Yeah.
Quid pro quo, you game will help the thing.
That'd be quite
otherwise.
nice, actually. It's a like you do the football match, the God, what teams, what adversaries actually get on well enough to have football matches? But anyway, yeah. So two hackers versus gamers in some sort of vaguely level CTF style half game, half CTF thing, and then we'll all get annihilated because they'll
have
just
played the game.
They've just been
We can have
exercising
them
their
set
brains
up.
a lot more than I have recently.
Have them set up this game on a server somewhere and have it hardened, and then they've got to complete the game before we get into the server and break it.
Nice, yeah.
So-
Yeah, that works.
So I was just letting my imagination run wild, as I tend to do to my detriment continuously. And I was thinking it'd be really nice to start with this game and then to just mess with it a bit so that it connects to more and more realistic looking things until people start getting a little bit worried. But like do it as a Jeremy Beadle, you've been framed thing. I'm going to talk to Jake's magical agent about getting this commissioned, and it's just going to be a hacky version of You've Been Framed, where you sucker people into doing things, and then suddenly they're like reading about their neighbour's affair or something like that. And everyone's in on it.
I had
so it's all
exactly
okay.
that experience when I first played Uplink, because
Yeah.
I had this moment where people had made games that were like little sort of Defender style spaceship games where it would delete a file off of your hard drive at random if you lost a life.
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on, this is connecting to IP addresses. It's like, what if it's that, and instead of deleting files off of my hard drive, it's randomly deleting files off of other people's hard drives? And I actually pulled the Ethernet cable out of the back of my computer while playing Uplink.
It's nice to have someone on that side of the game and not like all of the stories where people have pulled Ethernet cables because I've done something and that's made their job a little bit scary. But no, there was an amazing shareware game in the 90s where it was like you were floating about in your computer trying to destroy viruses, but it would use the icons of files and the names of files, so it just made it really realistic because you'd see something you recognize and you're like, I really am swimming around in my computer, I've got to kill these fucking viruses. It's good. Using just the right dash of reality is especially if it can be pulled so it's that it's not been generated in advance. It's not the same for everyone. That's pretty cool.
So we've got we're getting there now. We've got some stuff going on. Here we go. Lee Crad is saying we've got a new filter for IDs and records. Basically, they want us to find a domain that we can hack using Xkeyscore. Now we've got Hookshot Games offices, so Hookshot Games is a thing. I guess go back to Xkeyscore.
So before we move forward, because this is somewhere where we've fallen down before, currently we've had a few separate bits of documentation. We must read through them in full. If we got, you said there was some kind of receipt earlier. Receipt for what?
Receipt for like an Uber type thing. It didn't have any domains on it though.
No, but we should look at all of the data that is on that thing and work out whether any of that relates to anything else that we have. So you said it was an Uber receipt for a person's name, for a company. What else was on there? If there's anything that looks like it's got a bit of entry behind it, like some kind of serial file number thing, whatever.
It was like Hookshot Games or something.
Okay.
I did save the file. I don't know where it goes to when you save the file. We should try and work that out.
Possibly localhost.
Possibly.
But yeah, again, this is there's a reason I'm sticking to having to do this, which is that IRL. This is the difference between you finding a way in somewhere and not finding a way in somewhere. Yep. Read all of the things.
Yep.
On a site that will remain nameless, an individual who is a little an up-and-coming individual a few years ago who was taking ages to try and target certain things, and after about 3 or 4 hours they asked the question, I have no idea what's going on here, blah blah. This wasn't like a test site or anything where the idea was for someone to work out how to deal. This was some site that some people we have met may have looked at. The front page of this site, in the source code, in comments, had a link to the old admin URL to get to the old admin login portal and the old creds in the comments of the page. Had this person gone and looked and spent the time reading through, and I still troll them about it now, they would have had everything in the first 30 seconds and not 3 hours. Read all of the things.
Yeah. So yeah, scan the HTML for comments. Look at the robots.txt for things they don't want you looking at. It's a great idea, that robots.txt.
It's a prioritization mechanism. You go, oh, what do you mean you don't want the internet to know about these specific pages? Let's go and see what's going on.
Beautiful. Whoever decided on that was a genius. You just put these things in this file, and then they won't get picked up by the robots, and the humans won't look at it. And the things people leave in comments.
Laycrad has said, I know you're joking about it, but in one of the harder missions in the game, you mess up someone's marriage, so reading about your neighbour's affair isn't that far off. And they've just pointed me to the files that we're saving. There's probably quite a lot here at this point. Credentials, empty. German raid report, we don't need anymore, I don't think. I wonder whether I can, oh god, I've just lost it. Or I can unfavourite any of these so they're less likely to. John Pfaff's taxi receipt, that's what we were looking at. Hookshot Games Office. We basically need something with a. This is really basic path. I did read this, I promise I read it already, all the way through. I've got 2 addresses, pick up and drop off. The drop off is at Hookshot Games offices, and it's highlighted Hookshot Games Office, so we basically are being told to kind of look for Hookshot Games domain somehow. Okay.
So, what databases do we have again? We got police and taxi stuff.
Yeah. Animal registry, airline passengers, ER registry database. We've got Hookshot Games itself as an entity, actually.
Did you say tax database?
Yep. So we could probably throw that in and try and search Hookshot Games.
I guess so. Like we're talking about receipts and companies. Taxes aren't too far away from receipts and companies.
Yep. Let's try those. I don't really need the police reports in there.
If it's a tax database, it might have the things they've paid VAT on. Things they paid VAT on will be rental cars they've used, etc., etc. So.
And don't forget to steal all the. Well, we've already got the tax database. Is the point, right?
Yeah, that's just something we're allowed now. We're authorized.
We've got the Hookshot Games tax document now.
Okay, and then we're looking again for names, domains, weird numbers.
We've got their email address.
Strange punctuations.
mwanamaka@hookshotgames.com. So we can try hookshotgames.com. That's the case.
When you said names and domains, their path, it reminded me of that Brass Eye episode where was it Decline or something, where the kids go and raid the shop for fags, mags, and bags.
What a good show!
Yeah. Someone needs to redo that. I think we need to get another modern version of Brass Eye on the go. People need
the day-to-day.
And the day-to-day, yeah. There's no decent new satire in the new. Everything just becomes satire.
Well, that is the world. Yeah, the world is the decent new satire.
And today, President Trump spoke to Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson. He goes, "There's no way this is real. Can't be a real thing. He's a WWE superstar. How is he president?"
But there was one great bit on the day-to-day where the newscaster basically creates a war by escalating a minor dispute between the Australians and someone else. Someone needs to say it. Are you not going to say it? Say what? What? I said, well, we're ready to respond. And it's actually based on truth. The media is quite often agitating the situation because it's more interesting, and so they just blow things a bit out of proportion, and then everyone gets all the more silly. Not that there's any silliness that's been media facilitated in the UK politically at the moment. Everything's quite normal and humdrum. Nobody's talking about 400-year-old constitutional precedents, dragging the Queen into things.
Right, hookshotgames.com. We're going to do a little bit of messing about on.
So back to network intrusion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the right. I've got to use the sfuzzer command.
Oh yeah, this is so this is what they've renamed Subbrute from memory.
Oh yeah, that was it. The latest trick: catapult them into a shop and force them to steal booze, fags, and mags. Have to watch that later. It's good. It's a good tonic for the soul.
I always like the Peter Hanrahan bits where Chris Morris would just shred him, and then at the very end go, "Peter, thank you." Move off. What is that? Show me what you've written. What is that in the corner? It's nothing. Nope. There.
Yeah.
Show me what it is. Hold it up. It.
We were talking about social media, not social media, social exploitation, ways to learn it, and people to emulate. So, other than Louis Theroux, less in the TV shows, but Chris Morris had a radio show. Actually, it's some of the TV shows. In the radio show he had for ages on the BBC, he would do these interviews, and also some of the Brass Eye episodes he'd do these interviews, and he just had this way of like inceptioning ideas into the interview subject's head so that he'd make them say ridiculous things, and like you watch it, and none of this is pre-planned or anything, and like, if you can just figure out what the skill is with that, then you're halfway to having Jedi mind control, you know. I might actually do a comprehensive survey of these to remind myself of the kinds of tricks that he used.
It is good. Sort of related, obviously the work had happened before the cameras were running, but the whole section on cake is a made-up drug. The way they did that was pretty excellent.
Yeah, I mean the secret to that is politicians will just say anything from an auto cue if they think that they've already bought into the concept.
And if celebrities get any form of publicity, really.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but also there's another. Karen.
Go on. Right.
There's another trick to this, and that's building it up. So once the more people have bought in, the more they've done, the harder it is for their brain to say, "Hold on, this has gotten too silly." So there's like a continuity. Yeah. If it's continuous, then you can't do it. If there's an abrupt escalation in silliness, that's an opportunity to say, "Hold on, no." So, you see that they start off with something that's very plausible, very sensible, and then it's getting sillier and sillier. But because the camera's rolling, because they're already reading it, because the back and forth has begun, then you can do things that if you jump straight to that from the beginning would be impossible.
We've got a vulnerability on shop.hookshotgames.com on port 80, CRM4.
Nice.
CRM4?
Apparently so.
I hope they're trying to relate to Sweet CRM, because that thing is constantly open.
CRMs are what? Customer client relationship managers. So they're full of sensitive information if they are compromised.
Is there a CVE for that?
That's what I'm just about to search for. So,
okay.
What is it? CRM.4? CRM 4.0. See. CVE 2003-0352. This exploits a stack buffer overflow in CRM's RPC SS service or RPC listener via DCOM. Custom crafted SOAP request can execute.
Did you say DCOM?
DCOM.
Oh, amazing.
Distributed component object model. Thank you, Microsoft.
Yeah. No, this is
many ways to make other computers do things that they shouldn't.
This is what are they? Fuck, what are they called? This is an RPC thing.
RPCSS, it says.
Is it?
Craft a SOAP request via UDP. It was originally found by the last stage of Delirium Research Group and has been widely exploited ever since. This module can exploit the English versions of Windows NT 4.0, SP368, Windows 2000, XP 2003, all in one
I
SOAP
see it
request.
now come up on the screen. Yeah,
A newer version of Microsoft products may be protected. Right, so basically we can exploit this with a UDP SOAP request. So
and what did we do
Fox
before
Acid.
for this? Yeah, Fox Acid. Nice.
There we go, Fox Acid, delivery, UDP, exploit, was SOAP request, rootkit, it didn't say what rootkit we can or should use. I'll just try this, I guess. Target URL is shop.hookshopgames. I remember now.
X key score
Hookshopgames.com.
initiated.
So we're going to do the. Have you found? Have you OSINT scanned these things?
I haven't. I don't need to. I don't think.
Have
Or
you
maybe-
got the relevant hosts for them then? Because you've got a vulnerability there, but you know where you're pointing it to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm jumping across something here. I mean, I know everything that I need to fill in here in terms.
Okay. Yeah. Just crack on. If it works, it works, right? But
No,
if
there's-
it doesn't
there's
work,
one
stage
field
2
that
will
is
be.
missing. Yes.
What field is that?
Initiated.
Well. Oh no. The bit that I don't really know is which. What was that? Can I remove that? No, it won't even tell me now. What rootkit or mount or whatever else I should be using as the exploit, essentially.
Okay. So we need to. Okay.
Was it CRM 4.0 was the
Yeah,
technology? And it
that's
was
what they called it.
80 or something.
The trick with AT-ATs is you need to tie up their legs so they fall over.
It was just AT, so it's not. You
not gonna work
don't
then,
get to
you
fly,
need
you don't get to
different
fly around it with a spaceship now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, basically, I've launched it already. Oops. Well, that's a fault in this this piece of tooling is the fact that after you enter the port,
Fox acid attack.
if
It
you
just
hit
goes, does
return,
it?
it just goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's quite
Not
realistic.
completely unrealistic. It wouldn't be the
Yeah.
first time an exploit's been launched a bit too eagerly at the right or wrong target and has
So
made things come across.
rootkit failed. Let's try HMV mount.
Fox acid attack. Lost.
HMV mount or HVM mount?
I think it was HMV mount. But...
Because
Well, that's-
HVM would make some sense.
Oh, it's
HMV
HV,
is a
it's
music store.
It's HV.
Yeah.
Yeah, hypervisor module.
Oh right, yeah.
Well,
That
they
makes
typically-
sense. Well, I'm trying the after midnight one now, and if not, then we're gonna have to find something else.
After midnight is a real one, right?
Oh, that worked.
Successful.
Oh, there we go.
That's given us our C2 instance, our card for Hookshot
Nice.
Shop.
Connection completed.
So we connect to
What
that
does
network.
what does Hookshop do again? Do we know? Oh, they make games, do they?
They were just on one of the receipts, so
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, what do they do? That is a good question.
What did they
Need to
do?
know.
Why do they deserve this?
This is quite traditional intelligence agency scoping. It's well, is that a thing that's related to a thing? Let's just hack that. That's all right.
Yeah,
It's
get
not
in.
like we tell people what we're doing.
Get in and ask questions later.
Yep.
Yeah. And if it's the
In a
UK, there's
congressional-
one retired 60-year-old guy who's got the right old tie who comes in once a year and spends half an hour looking at the documents you present, and he's the accountability person. What do they call him? The commissioner, the intelligence. I don't know, but all I know is he
Can't
doesn't have
remember
to
who
work
you-
very
yeah.
hard. Yeah, there's just one guy who turns up to GCHQ and MI5 about once or twice a year, and they just pass him a little folder how good they've been, and then they all go sit down and have brandies, I think. So.
They do the same in the States, except that when it goes wrong, instead of hack now, ask questions later, hack now, and a congressional oversight committee will ask questions later. We will give
Yeah.
that make no sense. And
It is actually one of the things that they do occasionally try a lot harder at is
Yeah.
the inquiries in Congress. So we have parliamentary select committees, but it's basically theatre, and none of
Yeah.
them are going to be applied in earnest against GCHQ.
The only thing
you
that
get on
in terms of the outcomes of these things, though, the only difference with the States is instead of one person getting paid to not know the thing, 5 people get paid to not know the thing.
It's true. That's true. No, that's not going to work. Bloody hell. I have a room full of wires and I can't find just a little bit of speaker wire to test some speakers. It's ridiculous.
So we're breaking in thing now. Something else is happening.
Yeah.
Did you?
So we've got this. Sorry, not with the exploiters worked to get us into their server for shop.hookshotgames.
Okay.
And we're now at the point where I've used the WMI scanner to find paths to things that might be visible on their local network.
Nice.
And we've just found a service using that ERP service again, and our agent who looks after us says, go ahead and try and scan another company. So why scan another company? I don't know whether they mean, oh, well done, but now you've got to go.
Yeah, I
Repeat
think
that
get back
process.
to-
like we've got-
We're going all the way back to key score, though.
Yeah.
So do you think that's what they're saying?
Well, I mean, we've got a number of companies, right? It would be weird for to create narratives for 5 in-game entities that aren't in use.
Yeah.
It's
what
probable
are the
we'd
other
have to pop a
companies?
few, right? We're increasing our C2 hive mind thing, whatever, as we at least.
This is also very realistic in the sense that you're establishing a workflow and then you're applying that to a lot
Yeah.
of different things.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think if you played this game, people who are watching, if you played this game and you got quite good at it quite quickly, maybe that's telling you something about your career choices.
Yeah. Get into pen testing or get into something in the field of hacking.
Because it's not that far away from the methodology, at least.
Yeah.
Although sporadically, neither does it model people trying to do this on either side of the fence. But in terms of an industry application to this, you are learning that workflow.
So I guess we can search against any of these people now, and I mean, do we want to use the airline passenger data, or do we want to?
Yeah, may as well.
I think this is all a bit just kind of trial and error now. I'm
But
running
that is-
German airline passenger data against Martin Brand. That's not done anything though. Let's try.
Trial and error is how it is.
German airline data against John Bath.
Side interjection. If you are traveling with an airline ticket and you've got a nice little barcode, and it might be QR or just a barcode or an Aztec code or something like that, just open your barcode scanner on your phone and scan the ticket and have a little look at the data that you. Everything is a variable, and there are some variables in these things that your phone can now read and tell you. So just be inquisitive. You see it, just any QR code, especially if it looks like someone stuck it over another QR code. Just scan it for science and see what you come up. Note that this could get you into a lot of bother because people do put up QR codes that will redirect to bad things, especially in Starbucks. Don't just be careful. If you scan a Starbucks QR code, you make the assumption that somebody hasn't put their own QR code on the top of it. But with airline tickets, definitely have a look at those codes.
So I'll tell you a story about barcodes. These days supermarkets don't want to pay nice real human people to be on the checkout.
Yeah.
So you get these robots, and you can negotiate with them just like you negotiate with a guy at the local corner shop over how much something should be if you're a bit broke. And one really effective way to negotiate with the supermarket ones is the barcodes, especially when they put another barcode on that says it's reduced, and you can sort of see the difference in the numbers. And I'm just saying, it's a theoretical exercise. Maybe look at a few of those and try and spot a pattern. and then not that you would want to do that because it may be immoral or illegal or some other nonsense like that. But that pattern might be applicable to anything in the shop. And a little bit of arithmetic, you could set your own price. And I'm pretty sure you are just negotiating. I don't think it's been adjudicated in court yet, but I think it counts as haggling if the machine doesn't say that you've stolen it. So
jurisdictional differences may apply.
Yeah.
They fixed they fixed the use many times problem with their discount voucher codes. A lot of these supermarkets, but it's a case where there was no database record of whether or not a code had been used, and the only check that was whether or not you have disposed of it was by passing something through an infrared beam as you deposit used thing. So if a roughly similar dimension article of paper passed through that beam and set off a thing passed through here, there was these things that we fixed long ago, and so don't try it. But there are lots of problems with robots.
Yeah. It's another example of everything old is new again, because all of the things that people used to do to get free things from vending machines with magnets, or putting in something that's the right shape and then the right weight at a different bit, all of this becomes applicable now that there's scanners of QR codes everywhere. There will be a logic to any system that's been automated, and you can bet your bottom dollar that logic has not been systematically formally proven or even very well tested. So mess around.
Talking about messing around.
Yeah.
I found this insurer debt company that I'm meant to be searching against.
Okay. Insurer debt.
Yep.
Is that like payment protection?
Well, I took it to mean more of a, we will insure your debt.
Yeah.
It's insure, not ensure.
Okay. By the way, debt companies and things, they're on the verge of being fair game by their business models and practices. When loan sharks say this is immoral, when actual loan sharks have said it's immoral, you know that something's wrong, right?
There used to be honor in this game. Sure, we'd break a few kneecaps, but most of the people we wouldn't scare.
So we've got insurer debt, and what have they given us? You've got their DB, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I've been trying to search against different people, but maybe I'm doing that wrong, and we actually need to search against. Yeah, we need to search against a different database. So we've got their tax document now. That should have their email address or a domain in, and then
there'll be some
repeat from there.
Some information.
Yeah. S. Gerber at Insurer Debt.
Okay.
So,
this is
back to fingerprinting or fuzzing and then fingerprinting.
Or social engineering toolkit, because you've got an email address again.
They want us hacking domains specifically.
Do they? Okay.
Yep. So
I don't know. I would risk it. I'd fish the person. The human is almost always the weak link in
Well, let's
this
try
game.
it out. Let's see whether there's two ways around. Because the clever thing would be if you can go either way, because both are valid.
Yeah. So if
Yeah, I
this
mean,
doesn't
in
work,
this game, you should not have a linear progression because the
No.
whole point is there are so many different ways to the same end result.
the
And
internet
that's
is
what
not.
keep-
So,
And
social
to
engineering toolkit.
Commentary on the production house rather than the participants.
S. Gerber at InsureDebt.
Was it .com?
I think so.
Because we emailed the wrong.
We did.
Wrong
Let's
one
not
earlier.
do that again.
Non-existent. Yeah, that poor other Tanya. She's dealing with an exploit, and it's not.
I've done the same thing that I was doing while we were doing this last, which is not looking at the fact that the command is just an option, so I have to press 1. I keep trying to write the email address in.
Yeah.
So build an email address, email crawler, with S. Gerber, wasn't it?
X key score
No,
forensics
that's wrong.
initiated.
S. Gerber at InsureDebt.
And this company is let's have a look. There are 4 templates available, aren't there?
Yes, there are.
So I'm giggling at myself.
What did you do to make yourself giggle?
I just lifted something incredibly light, but I still made that sort of noise you make when you're lifting something that's heavy, that thing. And then I realised that people are mostly doing that for effect, and it's not because it's particularly hard to do the physical things anymore. I just worry about this because my I've heart disease in my family, so if that starts happening in earnest, I think I need to do more exercise or something.
It's not like in this domain.
Have you got the actual domain in there? Is it definitely .com or is it something else?
I thought it was .com. Zekmo's heading off. Thanks, Zekmo. Yeah,
Cheers, Zekmo.
It's s.gerber at insurer.debt.com. INSURADEBT. INSURA.
Did we not ascertain that there was some clipboard?
INSURA. We did ascertain there is, but it's like you can't always copy the thing that you want to. So I can't highlight or grab this.
Yeah, it sounds like either you're dealing with a Windows or Mac system there, then if you're prevented from doing something blatantly, obviously useful.
I'd have, by this point in the game, I'd already be thinking, can I use OCR to rip every string from this game, and then can I programmatically enter, select those strings from a drop down and enter them, and then I'd have got distracted figuring that out, and I would have stopped playing the game.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really understand why it's not liking that.
Insura.debt.
Insurer.debt.com.
There's no debt. There's no debt. Yeah,
there's just no dots. It's just Insura.debt. But is it put www in? Because there may not be a www.
You can see I tried.
Oh no, there won't. There shouldn't be.
Both, yeah.
No, I tried it without to start with.
Yeah.
Let
me just.
Yes, I can just get. Maybe they need it to be a subdomain.
Yeah. Can you?
No. What were you going to say, Larry?
Yeah, can you just guess mail dot or some of the other typical?
So
Yeah, what's the actual real world tool these days that you use for enumerating subdomains?
so in this they use sfuzzer, but it would be subbrute.
Subroot, yeah.
But you shouldn't have to do that.
You don't have to do that because nice people like Sony occasionally will give you their entire zone file.
So I seem to remember more dots being placed when you read out the email earlier. I seem to remember you saying s.gerber@insura.det.com.
Well, if I did, I think that was just me making a mistake. I mean, it's here in this tax rate request form. It's insuradebt.com.
Okay. Well, again, this was a side trail attempt to maybe use this thing, and it may not be viable.
We may have to just skip.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, we might have to. Yeah, I've gone back to using sfuzzer, which was what I thought we might use in the first place.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's be sensible and use the thing they've taught us.
There's a mobile site and there's clients.insuradebt.
Ooh.
We've got
Client sounds like a login.
I think we've got a wow, what's that sound? Lowry, is that you?
I'm unplugging a USB stick there, yeah, sorry about that.
It sort of sounds like jungle music.
Audio is
but underwater.
significant now. Have we lost audio, or have I lost audio?
I might have to turn you off briefly, Lowry.
No, okay. That's interesting. Did me plugging in this USB output device break the audio for the rest of you guys?
Yeah, audio went away.
I think I found a bug in Google. Okay, I found a bug in Google Hangout. Yay! Let me get a bugs. I can get a bugs bunny. Bugs bunny.
Sounds
Yeah. Oh, that's a relief. We've got someone that we all know in the chat as well. We've got Demon or Lee. Yeah. Yeah, in the Twitch chat at UHM Demon. Lee Crad saying, "Don't forget about your other tools." Lowry, you back? Woo! I was just saying to Path that we've got Lee in the Twitch chat saying hello.
Cool.
He said, Lowry, Lee says hi.
Cool. Yeah, how you doing, mate?
Lee as in a Lee that we know.
Yeah, I think I know which one.
Yeah.
Cool. There you go.
Right.
Smiley
I think I can
face,
play
hi
music
back.
now. Right, let me know if this is too loud.
Lee Crad is basically comparing the noise that you managed to make there, Lowry, to Skynet Awakening.
Yeah. Yeah, not unrelated actually. I wasn't going to let that on, but that was just me turning on the Skynet. I told someone on Twitter recently, not that I have a Twitter account, if anyone from Twitter is listening, but told them that they should not do something because they'll create Skynet and find out what it was they were going to do. It was something about a rule that would they were going to add a suricata rule that would change other suricata rules. That's
that's not good
because that's how you get Skynet.
That is what happens.
Yeah.
Somehow PCRE will be involved in the singularity. It will happen.
Yeah.
Like it will be badly composed PHP or something to do with PCRE, and that will cause Skynet. That will be involved.
Yeah. Mutations.
Right. .insuredebt.com exists as using Amazon S3, but is up to date.
Oh, is it now? Well,
Yep.
it can be as up to date as it likes in the real world. If you're finding Amazon S3 around, you should. Those of you out there, you should go and learn about how Amazon metadata works, because you don't need to find a vulnerability in Amazon or anything to do with Amazon. You just need to understand how the basic premise of metadata sharing in the Amazon service works, and that will open everything for you.
Yeah.
Because it's already
In
open.
fact, I think a recent breach of Capital One and maybe a bunch of other places was related to this people not understanding the metadata and it being available. This was a speculation on Whiskey Biz anyway.
There was one piece of metadata that allowed someone to jump through a role and then essentially do the Amazon equivalent of pivoting internally. So they took the model that someone managed to break in Windows 20 years ago, and someone re-implemented this in the cloud conceptually, and someone else worked this out.
Everything old is new again. Oh yeah.
Yep.
And this is why people need to.
No, go on.
You've got to work out the more abstract pattern. So finding a CVE is great and fine, and finding what we on 12,000 CVEs a year is great and fine. You need to be able to go from those 12,000 things to a few hundred specific mistakes, from those few hundred to take a few dozen cognitive issues, on a much more meta level or organizational team distribution of auditing problems, and then you can start to infer things. And I'm sure if they're trying hard at all, then the big alphabet agencies will be trying to do this. They'll be trying to fuzz for vulnerabilities, not just on a random input level, but on a more abstract, using some sort of neural networks or something.
Yeah, doing source sync stuff is the way a lot of people are trying to do it more intelligently now.
So the mobile site for InsureDebt is vulnerable with PHP 7, and I've run that through the exploit DB, and we've got CVE 2016-4071. And basically formatting string vulnerability in the PHP SNMP error function in ext SNMP in PHP before 5.5 and 5.6 allows remote attackers to arbitrarily execute code through UDP via format string specifiers in an SNMP call.
Format string. Excellent. They still works, by the way. Tons
UDP
of format.
and SNMP.
What was the last?
There was one the other day.
Yeah, I was just thinking. There's been a few this year. Format string. CVE 2019 format string. Let's see who done. Yeah,
there was one done by.
I mean, how old is that? I mean that.
Oh well, it's as old as C, right?
Yeah, it is as old as C, but I'm exploited in the Morris worm. It wasn't that those were just buffer overflows, but it wasn't that long after. It was people were doing format strings way back in the single or double digits of frac. In fact, let's look at the first frac format string.
What was it? InsureBank.
First frac magazine.
InsureDebt.
Yeah, InsureDebt. Yeah.
SNMP.
PHP 7. Yeah, I've got the SNMP stuff sorted already.
Good.
Just trying to remember which PHP 704.
Oh, not that old then. We're on 7.2 or 7.3 at the minute. Maybe.
Nice 7. How good is?
And that is on 480. So we can give this Fox Acid module a crack. Run Cobalt Strike quickly.
There we go.
By the way, speaking of frack, there's a new zine out, isn't there? Or Zine, call them by the people
Are they
who
redone?
did POC or Get the Fuck Out. Yeah, I forget what it's called. I haven't got around to reading it yet, but I think it might be pretty good. What was it?
Yeah, someone mentioned that in a channel somewhere, I think.
Yeah, if I search for hacking zine, it might come up. It was some like phony related name or some.
Right.
It wasn't as cool as POC or Get the Fuck Out. But, paged out. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, paged out. Okay.
Paged out. So it's got cool cover art. Paged out is what happens when a technical reviewer sees too many 20-page long programming articles in a short period of time. Blah blah blah. Experimental zine focusing on very short articles. So it may not be as hacky as POC, but it's got Juru in it. Foxtrot Charlie, Cold Windies, and some other people I don't recognise. Anyway, it might have some cool stuff. It might be more if you're like programming type hacking. That's in making cool things. Yeah, that's cool. It's a thing to read. I haven't even read much of the POCs.
Demon says percentage X, percentage X, percentage X, percentage X.
Yeah, that's format string. That's a type of thing you would use to test for format string vulnerabilities. So what would happen? What the point of this is? What you're doing is you're passing it something that a programming language, if it is interpreting what is given to it in a raw fashion, would attempt to
then process it like most PHP.
Or anything that is interpreted.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Notorious in PHP because all vulnerabilities, everything you can think of, is somehow enabled vulnerability in PHP. That's how it. I think they put it together like that on purpose. PHP 7 unserialized vulnerabilities, though, have not had enough attention. So if you're out there and you want to go and smash PHP unserialized in PHP 7, because WordPress is run on a third of the internet now. There will be things.
Oh god. How's our friend getting along with his? We know someone who's writing a replacement for WordPress that's not stupid and designed to be secure. And what's it bloody called? Airship, is it not? I think we inspired the name even. Airship.
Airship, yeah, someone. Yeah, that's right, actually.
Paragoni, yeah. So if you're thinking of running a WordPress and for a change, not to be silly, look up on GitHub Paragoni, PARAGONIE/airship, and it's a secure CMS. And the guy knows what he's doing. He understands, exploits and cryptography, and they can write good PHP, which is actually possible.
And does actually understand.
Strongly discouraged, but it's possible.
It does understand cryptography. That is a key point that a lot of WordPress seems to point the other direction.
Yeah. So that was a shameless plug. I won't get any money for it. I don't think he gets any money for it, but it's not going to cause you problems when it gets popped 16 times in a row.
Yeah. WordPress plugins and whatnot. We're talking about maybe an average of, and we're just talking about the ones that our team even has the time to look at, and you're talking about 8 to 10 as an average a week. 8 to 10. Well, no, sorry, that's probably maybe that's too overzealous. Maybe 20 a month. 20 or so a month minimum on average of WordPress plugins. Or you could just have a website you value and you want to keep its internal.
Well,
the Intercept is still a WordPress blog, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, a certain is still a WordPress website. There was such a good upstream attack that nobody did before I think it's still the same, but we can't talk about which government. But there was one government, and imagine you have a government with lots of different departments, as you normally would do, and they would all be their different sites, and they'd be managed. And if you had a load of people who had to update applications on a regular cadence, it would be very technical and difficult for lots of disparate people to be able to do this. So what they did was they had one of the websites be the upstream document store for all of the others. And that one upstream document storage type website was a WordPress website. So if you took that, you would be able to implement whatever PDFs you want across all of these separate departments. Fantastic opportunity. Nobody touched it because everyone should go and press.
Yeah. This is another thing that's insufficiently elaborated when people are discussing hacking, as in the world rather than academic exercises. That it's fun to exploit software, and it's fun to exploit people, but an understanding of supply chains and the actual graph of relations of dependency and trust is probably one of the and actually getting a comprehensive picture of that, which then where the soft spot is, because there's so much flow, there's so much automation that there can be some very esoteric roots, and people are not thinking of them as being a thing they have to defend because some intern set it up 10 years ago or whatever. It never made it into an audit properly, or it's never been analyzed as problematic dependencies. So, and that's where stuff like Multigo or maybe this new Constellation tool can come in, because you can start to infer trust relationships, which is a huge part of the game. We should have trust-free things using the power of crypto. How are we getting on? Have we taken over Germany yet?
Not yet. I think we're getting to the point where we basically have to do a load of these key score things, and my kind of patience for mucking about with it over and over again is probably worn a little thin after the evening. So I'm wondering whether we may be, seeing as we now know what we're doing and what we have to iterate through, call this a good place to break, and now we know we can come back to the X key score stuff on these different reports and try and find different domains that we can hack. We've hacked 2 of them. Maybe there's, who knows? Maybe there's only one more. But this whole X key score combination stuff just makes me a bit.
It's allowing us to get into the realism of how long these kind of things take. Because again, if you're on a special project of some description, weeks to months of this is what they don't put on the advert. Especially for pen testing, if you want to talk about the legitimate industry part, the sheer amount of time spent wading through things that you must wade through to not miss something is not something that is regularly communicated to people who are interested. You see, people think it's exploit a vulnerability, or chain a few things together. Rarely, if you've got a specific thing that you're trying to look at, a specific entity or organization, you unless you're lucky, you have to wade through so much. And fair play to them if they're making you do that. However, I still think there's the bypass. But here, there must be some cheeky thing we can do where we go, oh look, somehow we've completed it again. I don't know. Every time I do something more than 3 or 4 times, my brain says, there is another way to do this. And it might mean 5 minutes of a thing, but just a little luck, and there might be a way. I think we'll find a thing, and it will allow to use.
There we go. Lee Cred is saying, want some hints. Yeah, if you can help us skip through this X key score bit so that we look at the right person at the right time, that would be ideal. Because actually, I think if we get the right person, we're pretty close to cracking this mission, and then we can wrap up having finished the mission rather than halfway through it. So, Lee Cred, if you know what I'm supposed to be using on X key score to find the next domain that I need, or the next entity that's going to be a company, that would be ideal. In the meantime, I guess while Lee Cred is waiting for the 10-second delay to hear me say that, I can say to everyone watching that next time around, we're going to run a nice little key giveaway because essentially Anna Shell, one of the people behind this game, has given me a bunch of keys to give away on stream. Next time we stream, I'm going to run a little competition. So Lowry and Path, we have to come up with a fun competition. It might have to be something like they have to jump onto our Discord and post a screenshot or something along those lines. What do you think? Something that has some engagement.
Yeah.
Bit of Lowry Love fan art needs to be created.
Yeah.
Hookshot and Insure Debt. Yeah, we've got Hookshot and Insure Debt.
Yeah, we've got those. Those are the two ones so far.
You have to use the taxi.
Have we gotten into? We've got into Hookshot.
We've forgotten what Path actually already worked out early on. We need to use the cab company on each of the individuals and listen to chatter on them. So I think we've done John Pfaff already. I think we've done Martin Brandt. So we can just do that on Michelle Fielder.
Did you just spin up a drill there? Was that? Are you casually holding a electric power tool?
No, I've actually had to move them all off the premises because I had too many, and you couldn't sit on the sofas. So no, that was a phone vibrating. But believe me,
the phone
just
vibrating. It sounded a lot. I suppose it is something spinning.
Yeah. You've touched a nerve there because I am in dire need of my meters, and they are not proximal.
Oh no.
Things need
no good.
angles, and they can't be.
Lee says he wants to enter the fan art competition. He said he does the best fan art. He turned Lowry into a Teletubby at one point.
Yeah, I remember that. I was having a severe outbreak of facial plague, and I was wanting a little bit of sympathy, and instead I got turned into a Teletubby, and then Facebook removed the photo because it violated their content standards. I don't know.
Right.
It was a weird episode of my life, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lee Crad. Lee Crad has basically told me the formula that we picked up on early on, and then my kind of it being 1 a.m. let it completely slip out of my head. So we've now unlocked Novelty Publishing as a new entity.
Okay, we unlocked the prize. Okay.
And so we can then use that entity against the tax search and get their tax receipt and get their domain name. So basically now we go, where is that entity? Novelty Publishing, check their tax, run a search, and we should be able to get all the domains. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Lee Crab.
Nice.
Right, so we've got their tax receipt. Yeah. Now we have their domain, which is noveltypublishing.com. Makes sense. We then want to use the S buzzer on that. It really does sound like a drill.
Yeah, nothing's even happening on my phone. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why these things are going off. I'm not getting any notifications. I think it's just attention seeking, to be honest.
I have noticed that since phones got notifications that they get progressively more demanding for frivolous reasons. You just get spam from half the apps now. It's just like, why? I mean, I understand it's cynical.
They're fighting for
people
your
bribing
attention.
people to make money.
You know, 90%.
I feel like I should be demanding more money.
Well, what they did was they worked out that the Tamagotchi age group have aged to the point where smartphones are their regular device, and they've just gamified the same.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 20 minutes. You need an update message about some app you didn't know you had, but you have that attention, and you go, "I'll just check." And then
Yeah, no, I mean that's actually what's happened. It's like the Skinner experiment, or I don't know, some psychology experiments with the little dopamine drip feed, and that's just tapped into. It's a bit of a bad hack, really. I think something should be done to readdress this situation a little bit. Possibly involving flying drones and loudspeakers and a lot of Rick Astley.
There's a new fun. You know, there are devices out there as Roomba's, right? And related type devices that are small and innocuous, and you can't sort of weaponize really. So if something were to go wrong, manipulation thereof, it's not like going to take it out. There are also these devices that have speakers in them, and they might run with. I'm not going to play about things like Alexas or something that might have speakers. Theoretically, one could change the Alexa greeting sound to be Rick Astley, and simultaneously one could change such devices as Roomba to do a dance routine to this new greeting.
That could be done. Yeah.
And this could be tracked in. I'm just saying that these things could be possible.
Have they done anything about the feature that you can control these voice assistants with ultrasound that people can't hear, and you can implant that into basically anything someone's going to listen to? Because it's a very convenient feature, but you think that maybe enough people might have raised concerns about it that they would have.
It's still available.
Voice. Yeah, so they're not making any effort to voice fingerprint the legitimate user. It's just a sort of. It's a bit like you have a butler, and the butler will literally do what a robber tells them to do, like fetch the silverware. Which is nice, but doesn't seem ideal from a security point. But they had a big discussion about these voice assistants on Radio 4 recently, which I routinely punish myself by listening to. And this was not mentioned. There was a lot of like consumer trust issues, which again was to do this having command over your interface to the internet. So people start monetizing what comes up in response to questions. That's a major trust issue, and then the trust people have about ambient listening. But also they're an attack vector in themselves, not because you have to trust Amazon or Google, but because that thing is trusting voice commands that are not authenticated in any way. It's let's just say ultrasound speakers can be incredibly small, incredibly light. They can be attached to autonomous vehicles that can be piloted under doors or through air vents and windows. And I wonder if there's any kicking about in number 10. I mean, number 10, my neighbours at number 10 that I get on very well with, obviously.
Yeah, exactly,
Leakrad says, want more hints? Yeah, well, I mean, what am I doing wrong here? Basically, the OSINT scan and the S-Fuzzer haven't turned anything up for me.
Again, have we got email addresses? Because I swear, there must be some way to touch things through SE Toolkit again. There must be some, like they've given us the thing that you put email addresses into, and every now and again email addresses are offered to us, right? It seems intuitive.
But we've already hacked two of these networks with this method, so maybe that's why.
When it gets to the point where it doesn't work, we will have to think a different.
Well, the bit that's not working is finding any subdomains. Pardon me. The bit that's not working is finding any of the
So we've got S-Fuzzer and Scan.
For which domain?
Noveltypublishing.com.
Like we've got quite a that we haven't touched either. That we've got at least one or two in the recon as well. That are aside from S-Fuzzer and OSINT Scan. Is that right?
Are there? I don't know. Let's try. I mean,
what? So when you looked at Novelty Publishing, what did the document say? Was there some piece of document that we could read that had information on it?
It's just the tax return thing, which.
all the variables.
Have you got an
on
email
that.
address? I think it might be a social engineering.
Yeah.
It'd be a set attack on some email for novel publishing. I'm gonna
Alright,
guess.
let's try that then. That's what we were getting at earlier anyway, isn't it?
Well, so the only thing is when, again, if you're doing this for real, then every single thing that's not just a generic word in the English language is considered and only dismissed when proven unviable. So if there's an email address or an IP or a phone number, everything is attempted. If they've given us an email,
we've got addresses, telephone numbers, we've got tax ID.
is there any way we can try that Android? Can Android pop a thing with a phone number? I think we've got something like that somewhere.
That was only if you get the
You needed the
MAC
MAC address of the phone.
Yeah, that's right. I remember now.
Ah, fuck.
Hmm.
Resolution of the stream, jumping down.